Oh,
It's gonna be an ugly
we're going to start in 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's
So get out everything that you need to in 30 seconds. Are we ready in the booth?
I need to move Chief. He's ready.
You're in
Okay.
exactly the right spot, Mr. Peacemaker. Peace.
Cheryl, would you like to lead the pledge?
I would love to, thank you.
Thank you. You made eye contact, that was your mistake.
That was my mistake.
If that's the only one you've made today, you're doing better than some of us are, I'm sure.
Okay, we're going to get started. We'll call to order the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners meeting for Wednesday, February 7th, 2018. You could stand, and Commissioner Gorfulet will lead us in the pledge, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Bonnie.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Mayor?
Here.
Gorfulet? Here. Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Klaus?
Here.
Johnson?
Here.
Crawford?
We have approval of the minutes.
Madam Chairman, I move to approve the minutes of January 17th, January 24th, and January 31st. Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, those are approved. Now is our chance for first public comment. Will you read the rules, please, Bonnie?
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4 Order of Business. However, public comment will generally be received at any time during the meeting regarding a specific topic currently under discussion by the board. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson. Please be respectful and refrain from personal or political attacks.
With that, do we have anyone for first public comment today? No? Nobody at all? Okay, we will move on to approval of the agenda. Any of the commissioners have anything to add or remove from the agenda? No? Anybody from administration?
Yes, I'd like to add, on your desk, I put the update on the interim administration, and like to add that under item E, number 5.
So under administration,
Yes, please.
okay?
I'll make the motion that we approve the agenda with the change that Jean voiced.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Lathrop, supported by Commissioner Klaus. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have an agenda. Have the consent calendar. Bonnie, please.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive and file. Number 1, Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency minutes of December 14th, 2017. Number 2, Airport Commission minutes of December 19th. Number 3, Department of Health and Human Services minutes of December 29th. Approvals. Number 1, Grand Traverse Sheriff's Office surplus equipment. Number 2, 2018 hauler licenses. Number 3, Hepatitis A response grant funding.
Okay. Any commissioners want any of the things removed from the consent calendar to be discussed at another time? Anyone from administration? Anyone from the public? No? Do I have a motion?
Madam Chairman, I move to approve the consent calendar as provided.
I'll second that.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Mayer. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We will move on to special orders of business. We have a public hearing on amendment to PACE program.
Yes, you have, in 2014, you provided a resolution that would help on energy efficiency in buildings, and we have some amendments that we would like to make as provided by Corey Conley from, he is from Levin Energy Partners LLC. They work throughout the state of Michigan to try to implement the program for counties, and he can go through the changes and actually the program itself. We've not utilized the PACE program in Grand Traverse County, but there is businesses that are looking at it, which Corey would be working with them.
Okay, so
I would-
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing at 5:36. And is Corey here?
Corey is here.
Hi, come on up.
First, thanks for having me. I had to make the trek up, but it meant I got to see my parents. So my name's Corey Connolly. I work with Levin Energy Partners. I'm the Chief Operating Officer there. We run a program, the PACE program, called Lean and Green Michigan for 34 local governments across the state. And as you know, Grand Traverse County is one of our, jurisdictions that we work on behalf of. So we work with businesses here trying to help them implement these types of projects. You passed the program in 2014, which is actually before I even started my job at Levin Energy Partners. I started in 2015. And over the last several years, we've gone to all these different local governments and learned best practices. So that's why I'm back here, is to make a few updates to the program. And then to give you a better sense of what the program really is and what it's for, PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy. So it's a way for local businesses and nonprofits in Grand Traverse County, but in all these different counties that we work in, to receive long-term financing at a fixed interest rate for energy efficiency, water efficiency, and renewable energy projects. And because it's at a longer term at a fixed interest rate, it allows for the savings from the projects to pay for the loan payments, so that the property owner is saving money from day one. So they're getting long-term financing. And it's all facilitated. It's private money, private contractors, private business owners. We're a private market administrator, but it's facilitated ultimately by the PACE program, which is set up by Grand Traverse County or Wayne County or Otsego County or any of these counties, to allow the property owner to put a property tax special assessment on their property and only their property, and then agreeing to pay it back over the course of 15 or 20 years, which is kind of the game-changing element. Most businesses can't get that type of fixed interest rate, long-term financing to do these types of energy efficiency, water efficiency, and renewable energy upgrades. So they continue going on wasting money because it doesn't pay back for 5, 10, 15 years, but by matching the term of the financing with the payback period, they're able to start making these decisions. Now, we haven't had a business take advantage of the program here in Grand Traverse County or in Traverse City, but we've had a lot of folks very interested, and one of our most active contractors that's working on this is based in Traverse City, Keen Technical Solutions. They do a lot of work on this across the state, and are working on developing a number of projects both here and in other parts of the state, as are a few other local businesses here. I can't talk about some of the specific projects because they're not far enough along, or I haven't gotten permission to tell names or anything like that. But we're up here often. I make a lot of trips up here because I'm from Leelanau, and so I come up here quite a bit to meet with business owners and try and help them take advantage of the program where it works. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have on that, but I'll kind of hit the highlights of what the updates to the program are. And they're really pretty much, like I said, we've gone and learned best practices, and some things have changed. So in 2014, when you all passed the program, Miller Canfield, a law firm out of Detroit, was very involved in drafting the documents, and they wanted to eventually be bond counsel if you all ever chose to issue bonds, which is an option under the program, has never been done in any part of our program across the state, is not something we expect to be done. Miller Canfield understands that now, and they want their name out of the documents. So they don't want to be involved, and so when we go back to update them, we just remove their references throughout. The second is on property values. The original program report that you all passed has a limit on how high of a PACE financing you could put on a project, and it says 25% of the state equalized value. Well, it should be 25% of 2 times the state equalized value. It's just a typo. And because typically market value of a property is 2 times state equalized value, if you leave it in there as just state equalized value, it's going to limit the opportunity for folks to be able to take advantage of the program. The last one, and maybe one of the more important ones to update, is that one of the resolutions said that one local government officer would be the authorized official who ultimately approves the projects, and then then the program report, which was passed, both of which you now have, said a different local government official, and so it would be hard to get approval if they're conflicting. If we came back with a project, and the way that it works is a property owner would reach out to me in our office. We'd help walk them through how to get financing, how to get a contractor, etc. And we'd get all the documentation together, and then we bring a full package for final approval to that authorized official, which the current resolution updating the program makes that the county administrator, I believe. And so that's kind of like the last final approval, and the county gets the final say, as is the case with every project across the state. So that's kind of the major high-level points, and then the updates that are being made. I'm happy to answer questions. I'm also happy to cede the floor, however you want to go for it.
Cheryl, go ahead.
So what do we get out of it besides feeling good about people being energy efficient?
Well, I mean, at its core, and as much as, I used to work at Environmental Law and Policy think tank, so I'm into this for the environment stuff. But I rarely have anyone come to us because they are looking to make an environmental choice. They are looking at this as a bottom line decision for their business. And so it's an economic development tool for the local businesses. The idea that they can upgrade, they can get brand new HVAC systems, lighting, windows, doors, boilers, etc. And by getting this longer term financing, they just got a renovated building, and they put in the efficient stuff, so it allows them to use the savings from what they would have paid otherwise to pay back the loan payments. So it's a cash flow decision, really.
So if anybody ever comes to Traverse City and ever builds a building and ever uses this, then we get the benefit of the increased tax from that new building.
Yeah, I mean,
basically, that's it.
Yeah, I think.
And not that that's a bad thing, but
yeah.
I'm just saying, our people are doing the tax stuff. We're doing the special assessments, so our tax people are tasked with the job of calculating that, sending out the bills on that, collecting that, and then someday down the road, we see an economic gain if that business flourishes, correct?
Yeah.
That's all we get, dollar-wise.
Well, dollar-wise, actually, no. So you do get that, right? Of like increased economic development, higher tax base, et cetera. We also have designed the program kind of, there are 2 pieces to that. One is that the general default in the market is that you all wouldn't have to do any of that administrative work. The borrower, the property owner, would pay the PACE lender directly, and only in the case of non-payment would the local government have to get involved. So that would reduce any fees. But the second piece of that is that if there are any fees incurred or costs incurred by the local government, we encourage you all to document them and put them into the cost of the financing. So each and every project, if there's $100 of hours, or if there's $500 for council to review or something like that, we would just, as we're going through the process, we'd work with your authorized official and make sure that any of those costs are baked into the project at closing.
So,
right?
so who else does this besides you? Because I can't believe you're the only entity in the state offering this service, because basically what it is it's a service. So,
Yeah.
I mean, did we bid this out? I mean, have we vetted this with other companies? I mean, we have someone stepping in who's basically going to be,
In 2014, they approached the county, and the company identified how they could work with the county and that there was no cost associated with it and just really could help the businesses through. So did we bid it out at that point? No, we did not bid it out in 2014.
Yeah, if I can explain slightly how our model works, is you all are open to enter or exit whenever you want, and there's no contract and there's no fee. Like, we run the whole thing on, we get an administrative fee on closing transactions. So we only have had one county that insisted on bidding it out and having a contract, and it's Wayne County, and so we have a contract with them that renews every 3 years for $0. In terms of other companies that do this in the state of Michigan, there really aren't other companies that do the administration. There are lots of companies that want to do the lending and a lot of companies that want to do the work, but not a lot of folks that want to do kind of like the bland, like, helping people with documentation and getting this done. There was one program in Ann Arbor that was run through the city with a grant that they received under the Recovery Act a few years ago, and they kind of ran out of that money, but it was run by a nonprofit. They only did it in Ann Arbor. Nationally, there are some other folks that do this type of work, but we're the only one that does it in Michigan, and we don't go to other states. We don't try to go to other states. But yeah.
Oh, I think Bob was next.
Oh, I'm
and then-
sorry.
That's okay.
Well, I
Sorry, I was
mean-
trying to keep an eye.
We've had this program since 2014 and no one's used it yet. Do we even need to be, I know it didn't cost us anything or really doing any damage to us, but is it a program that we even need to have any involvement in if you haven't had anybody in here for 4 years?
Well, I would say that we put it on our website, and it would be the businesses that would identify it, and it's a tool for the businesses to be able to utilize. It doesn't cost Grand Traverse County. It just provides access for businesses to be able to know how they can do it and have assistance to Corey's firm to be able to go through this. If it's a net neutral for Grand Traverse County not to do anything and have any cost incurred, and it's up to the businesses whether they want to do this or not, there's no negative for us to
but
provide
do
this.
they pay us for this? Because
Does-
we're advertising their business. We're potentially bringing them business. So we're putting them on our website. We're letting people know they're there to help them. I mean, we're basically giving them free business if somebody decides they want to use their services, aren't we?
If they can find it on our website, yes.
Well, I'm saying that.
it's true.
You've just outlined that as the reason why we're doing it is because it's a tool and it's on our website and people can use it for economic development. So they're going to make something out of it. Anybody else who wants to offer this service, can we put them on our website too? And
Because there's no negative for us, if there's another business that came on and said, we can do the special assessment, we can do the same program, it wouldn't harm us to do that as well. So any company that comes and says they could help the businesses to do the upgrades and to help with their financing, there's no harm in doing that. So because we're not paying this company, if there's another company out that can do this, we can put that on our website as well. It's a link.
Yeah, we have no exclusivity. I mean, a lot of people would think we're kind of dumb to have run across the state getting 34 local governments to join, and they can leave anytime they want, or they could add somebody else or whatever. That's just how it's set up, because we didn't think that you all would want to enter into an exclusive relationship with us, so we didn't set it up that way. But you're welcome to add other people, any other competitors, et cetera, as we go.
Dan?
Two things. I want to make sure I understood you. You said if one of the businesses doesn't pay, then we become responsible. For what?
Only for so a special assessment is put on the property voluntarily by the property owner, right? And you would, perform the same functions as what the county has agreed to do under the program, is to enforce the same way you would any special assessment. So if they don't pay their special assessment, it's treated just like a property tax obligation, and the county would trigger the delinquency and then eventually the foreclosure process if it got to that point.
So that would, and you said that the way we'd handle that is we'd have a finance person put that risk into the agreement, into the loan, right? Is that what you meant?
The risk, I'm sorry.
Well, if they default, how do we manage that? You were saying that you wanted to work with our finance department.
It'd be the treasurer's office, because it's a
Treasurer's
tax.
office, yeah.
It would be the treasurer that would, it'd be through the foreclosure process.
I got it.
So the
Okay.
treasurer would have to, if they don't pay their taxes,
Yeah.
then
So that would utilize.
if it defaults, then we
Yeah.
could end up with the
So we do have a
property.
vulnerability if they default, and in the sense that we have to use manpower.
We would have to use
Okay.
the manpower.
Now, the other thing, special assessment, let's say that the building's worth $100,000. Do they pay less county property taxes because they're in this program?
No,
Not like Brownfield?
no, no.
Okay.
It doesn't have any influence on the rest of it, except if it helps increase the value of the property, then they would pay more
Yeah.
in taxes, right? And the maximum, to help, explain that process of like in the foreclosure process, part of the big risk factor is that somebody would take out a PACE loan that was too big for the property.
Yeah.
And that's what I was talking about, the 25% value. Basically, no one can put more than 25% the value of the property. So if it's a $100,000 property, they can do $25,000
Gotcha.
loan, because that won't overly
Yeah.
encumber the property.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I also want to remind you all that ultimately you all still have the final decision on any individual project. If you look at it and you say, okay, I know that we've got this program and everything, but this doesn't look like it's going to be a healthy decision, your authorized official can say, I don't think that's going to work, or we're going to need you to make some changes in order for this to work, if this property owner wants to move forward with the program. So,
And Gene, I'm not against Brownfield. That's just the way I calculated in my head to understand it. So, yeah.
Sonny and then Tom.
I guess my questions, involve, who's marketing this program? If we're not doing something to market it and make it available and let people know that it's available, then why be involved at all, And no matter how we take it, as long as the county's involved in any fashion, even though the people that are making these loans are responsible to make the payments direct without making the payment to us, the fact is the special assessment still is sitting on the property, which means there is the potential for them to default and it come back to us. I guess that can be a good thing or a bad thing if in fact we can get the property back and sell it. If that was our goal, is to get property back and sell it and make a profit on the property, that might make some sense. But my biggest problem is I don't think there's a lot of these programs out there. Bob can tell you the electric companies have different programs that you can get. Okay, you change all of your lights over to an LED thing, we'll give you so much per fixture. I was fortunate enough a few years ago, I guess from one perspective, we had a fire in our building, and I was able to get a credit back from Cherryland Electric that helped pay for all new light fixtures, because I replaced all of the fixtures. Not that was my intention, but that's what happened. But there's a lot of these programs out there, but all of them require a certain amount of administration. And my concern with these types of programs are who actually in fact administers the program. Because if if your company issues a loan to John's Welding Service and John says he's going to put in all these new LED lights, who actually in fact administers to make sure that those lights were in fact put into that property?
yeah, so as a part of the statute, actually, Michigan's Public Act 270 of 2010, the contractor, so the person installing those lights, has to provide a performance guarantee to the property owner that they will save more than they spend on the loan payments. And that's true LED lights, HVAC, solar, whatever it is. They have to do that. We end up reviewing the energy audit they do, and then they have to submit, the property owner and the contractor submit a letter of installation verification at closing to us, and then we keep it on record. But ultimately, that contract is sort of their enforcement of the contractor is saying, or the solar installer, or whoever it is saying, we're standing by our product that we put in and our work, and when we install it, we're going to guarantee that you're going to save X number of kilowatts and X number of dollars for vis-a-vis the loan payments that you have. And then the property owner's enforcement or their recourse in that situation is that they have a contract with this entity, and if they don't see the benefit, then they can, take the natural recourse that they have, which is to sue them or to get into a dispute over, that project or that contract that they signed. Yeah.
Well, what I've seen happen many, many times is that, we convert old lighting systems to LED lights, and we find that we probably end up with better light, but we end up putting in more fixtures in order to get the same coverage. So at the end of the day, even though these fixtures are more efficient than the other ones, did we in fact save any money? Did we save any energy? Is that your experience? I think...
I probably shouldn't say anything since I work for an energy company here. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, you get some of these TVs now that even though they're turned off, they're sucking in power. And, I mean, the average household now is using more electricity, thinking they're energy efficient. So, my thought on this is, I guess we haven't used it in 4 years. It doesn't seem like there was a need for it.
Tom, did you have a comment, and then Dan?
Yeah, this resolution doesn't have any term on it, right? It's just open-ended.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it'd be nice to see you market it if you have some resources to do that, and give it a try so that somebody actually goes through the program.
Yeah, if I can talk a little bit about kind of the progress and the trajectory of the market, and then a little bit about our marketing. We do actually do mostly contractor training, so regionally across the state quarterly. And so the last one we held was in Grand Traverse County. I think it was maybe even this floor, was at the end of 2016 in December. And we had maybe 30 contractors come out to help them understand the program a bit better, help them understand how to market it. We do meet with a lot of local economic development folks in the region, et cetera, and we are working on increasing marketing. Over the course of kind of from 2014 to now, our focus was largely at helping local governments establish the program. And so in 2015, we closed 1 project across the whole state. In 2016, we closed 5. In 2017, 3, but a larger volume of dollars, and we've already closed 1 this year. We've got another one closing on the 22nd, and then another one closing next month. So the overall trajectory of the market is partially that there was a lot of time setting up all the programs across the state to try and help businesses be able to take advantage of this type of financing. And now we're starting to see, we had in 2015 1 active PACE financial provider in the market. Right now we have 10. So they're out helping property owners understand the program. They're starting to invest their own marketing resources, et cetera. So I really do think that that's part of the lag here. That said, I also am not present in Traverse City as often as I'd like to be. I come up probably once a month and try and have work meetings on either end of that. But I'm happy to work with any businesses, and I take lots of phone calls from Traverse City businesses in Grand Traverse County.
You can still go ahead.
Yeah, another thing is there's another group in town that uses the acronym PACE, so you might want to spell it out.
That's what I heard. Sorry
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
And I'd suggest speaking to the EDC, the Economic Development Corporation, that's part of the county, and speak at some more groups and try to get somebody involved in the program rather than have it be offered and no one's taking advantage of it. So I'd like you to give it a try.
Dan?
I guess what I don't like about this is that we're ultimately the enforcer. And, I don't know if I want to put the county at our resources at and that we'd have to use our resources in case someone defaulted. They could. We're looking at big loans here. I mean, it could be up, who knows how much it could be, 25% of the property. So I just don't like the idea that we have to ultimately enforce it.
Well, we ultimately are the benefactor if they fail to make the payment too, because we get the property.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then we have cost-
Do we want to be in that
Who
business
wants
is my
to be in-
point.
Yeah. how'd
Is that
work
county
out?
business, do we want to be in that business?
If we get the property, do we have to make the payment to the,
Well,
No,
Heidi Sheppy
no.
is here, who does the foreclosure process. She might be able to tell you the process on the foreclosure process, too.
Heidi?
Oh, another question. Is there a ceiling on how much they can borrow?
Yeah, the max is both on how much they can save in energy, and then, because they have to be cash flow positive, and then also up to 25% the value, the market value of the property.
Okay. Sonny just said 150?
No, isn't there a maximum cost for a project at 250,000?
No, it's
Or
the.
was that one of the things that was struck?
Usually, it's actually the
Strike
lower
that.
end of the projects are 250. 250 is the, like, above 250, there's a cash flow positive guarantee and a number of things that can.
I just remember seeing the 250,000 when I was reading it.
Heidi?
So the special assessment process actually is not done by the county, it's done by the township. The township puts the special assessment on the tax bill, and then only if it's not paid at the township does it roll over to the county and then become delinquent. And then we have the option, depending on the value and the collectability, to determine if we're going to buy it. We'll buy it with the delinquent tax process, and then it automatically gets 6% added on and gets 18% interest into the delinquent tax fund as we go through the collection process. At the end of 2 years, it will be foreclosed if it has a balance owing over and above the special assessment.
And is that the same process for anyone who doesn't pay their taxes, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
It's just one more parcel on our list for the county.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, go ahead and take it out to the public, since it is a public hearing. Does anybody from the public have any questions or comments on this particular item? Nope. Okay, you can bring it back to the board. I can close the public hearing at that point, right? So we close the public hearing at 6:03 and bring it back to the board.
Are we going to
Dan.
vote on this tonight?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Sunny?
Madam Chairman, I would move to pass the revision to the PACE contract as amended.
I'll second that.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Mayer. Further discussion, Sunny?
Well, I think the discussion simply is very, very simple. It's another tool that's available to people that are doing projects in our community. I think the risk to the county is very, very low. And, like I said, the worst thing that can happen is somebody defaults on the loan and we end up with a piece of property. Not that I want to do that. As most of you know, I've sat on the county's land bank for a long time, and we do end up with delinquent, foreclosed property every year for some portion of the taxes or whatever the situation is. But I think our risk is very low, and the big thing about it is it's another tool to help businesses in our community expand. The biggest thing that I would like to see is a better way to promote this and make people aware that it's available.
Cheryl and then Tom.
I guess, excuse me, I guess my concern would be that it feels like we're opening the door to, why wouldn't anybody who's got an idea that they would like to market, why wouldn't anybody do that? If they come in and it's revenue neutral, it doesn't cost us anything, they can say it's a tool to make something easier for consumers or developers. How could we not allow anybody who came forward with that kind of a pitch to not have the same access? I haven't given it a lot of thought to try and generate an idea or a list of what those kinds of services could be, but I could imagine there would be a lot of people who would like to be on our website, would like to be able to say, oh, we do business with Grand Traverse County, whatever, and it's no cost. It doesn't cost them anything. They get the marketing and the advertising benefit of being affiliated with the county. I just think we need to be careful that we're doing it for this company because it is a company. It's not an agency. It's not a government. It's a business that was smart enough to put something together, and they've spent a lot of time and energy, and good for them. I mean, they've marketed the heck out of this. They're apparently all over the state. But there are others who will see this and will say, I want a piece of that, and we're not going to be able to say no.
Tom, and then Bob.
Well, I just wanted to remind everybody, it already got said, that each project on an individual basis we can accept or not accept. And maybe other people will want to put their logo on the website, but it surely hasn't been a problem. I think the website needs to be revised, actually.
Bob?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that'll help with that is this is backed up by that Public Act 270, which I didn't read all of it, but that's kind of why this is in play, is because of that Public Act, so that's what brought that. The other part is, that makes sense then as to why there hasn't been anything, is if the lenders and everybody else haven't really marketed it yet, then that's understandable. If they're starting to market it, then maybe you'll see some use here, so.
Well, it's legislatively protected, it's legislatively authorized for the county to participate in this kind of program. We don't have to.
And we know our legislature in Lansing does everything that is helping us, so.
Couldn't help himself.
No, I couldn't.
Couldn't help himself.
You need a mute button for me, you really do.
Where is the mute button? Okay. Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, Corey. Is he still here? Thank you. Okay. We are going to move on. We have introduction to Veterans Director, Mr. Michael Roof.
I wanted to be able to introduce some of you new directors that maybe you haven't, and Michael is your newest director. He came to us in January. He comes from Illinois. He was the former superintendent of Veterans Assistance Commission in, is it Kankakee County?
Kankakee, yes.
Which provides services and financial aid to military veterans, and he was also in the U.S. Marine Corps. And I asked Michael to come to give a brief introduction to himself, and want to welcome you officially to Grand Traverse County as well.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So back in Illinois here, I noticed that all the county offices are called a little bit different. Veterans Affairs, Veterans Services. Back in Illinois, they're all called Veterans Assistance Commissions, just like anywhere else. They're established by a statute. So they're really the same thing as the office that I came to here in Michigan, just a little bit larger. But you know, a lot more resources, to be honest with you here, that I've been finding out the little over month that I've been here. It's been great. The people have been great, not just public, but everybody in the county. People have been extremely helpful through the onboarding process, and I appreciate a lot of the admin and finance people that have helped me along the way, because as I knew the job for over 5 years back home, coming to a new county, learning their ways and how it's done, it's always a little bit of a process. So I appreciate everybody welcoming me. I enjoy that, and getting my feet wet into the whole Bay Area, so to speak. That I can't wait till the weather turns. Although I can tell you that people back home said, don't move there, it's going to be super cold. And you know, the tables really aren't that bad, because here it's been 20s and 30s, when back home it gets below like 40, 30 below, and it's usually frozen ice everywhere. So I'll take this weather all day long. I appreciate this. And just the scenery is just I love it, so. Yeah, I did serve a small stint in the Marine Corps. When I get out, I started a family quickly, did a couple different jobs, and then landed in county government. I actually started in Kankakee County as the Chief Deputy Recorder, and then when this position opened up equivalently back home, I did that for a little over 5 years. So I'm well-versed in what it takes to run an office. As you might know, I got in and had to straighten some things out and work with the board, trying to get some things going. You might be happy to hear we're looking at bylaws and getting some things structured over there. And although we had a couple staff leave, we're going to look at filling those and righting the ship around. So I appreciate any help from anybody else. If I have to ask you, you can tell me you can help me, or if not, just wave me off and tell me get lost. I'm a very person who likes honesty. You'll find that out through talking to me. So if anybody has any questions, if not, I'm good.
Anybody questions? Bob, go ahead.
Welcome aboard. I was there at the first Veterans Affairs Advisory Committee meeting, and I was very impressed. He's jumped in with both feet, kind of had to, and then has already had some good changes to come about. So looking forward to his tenure in there, and I think it's a good thing. So.
Thanks, Bob.
Dan?
I was one of the people that interviewed you, and was impressed that he has the abilities, he has great experience, he has the abilities to hit the ground running, so I'm welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I don't think anybody would tell you to get lost. I told you which floor we were on today.
Yes,
right?
you did, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you did, thank you.
So welcome.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you. We have no items removed from the consent calendar. We'll move on to departmental items. We have several for the Commission on Aging. We have first, home chore vehicle maintenance.
So
Someone to
moved.
take that? Oh, okay, we'll have a motion first.
I'm Jill Case, I'm the supervisor at the Commission on Aging. I'm just here to answer any questions on our vehicle maintenance and our new truck requests. So-
Okay, so it was moved by Commissioner Gorfulet, supported by Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Okay. We have it in our packet. Does anybody have any questions for Jill or concerns at all?
The undersheriff snuck out, but I know the sheriff's department used DNW for many, many years for all of their maintenance, so.
So we have a good relationship with them already. Okay? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there you go. Thank you. That was easy, wasn't it? We needed that was easy button. Number 2, home chore new truck. Oh, is that Jill again?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Gorfulet, supported by Commissioner Johnson. Does anybody have any questions on that, Sonny?
Just because it's what I do for a living, do you know what kind of snowplows on this new Dodge truck?
It's going to be the Boss Plow.
Anybody else?
I just had a comment.
Yes.
I really appreciated seeing all of the bids and that whole process. That was really, really helpful, and appreciate all the effort that went into that. I know that's a lot of work, but
Yeah, the more
Thank you.
information we have, the better, the easier it is to make a good decision, so. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There you go, new truck. So now we have Cindy's going to tell us about the Coast Bus. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Cindy Kinlan with the Grand Traverse County Commission on Aging. We thought that in reviewing and talking about the Coast Bus, we might give you an overview on our entire transportation program. A little bit of history is that the Commission on Aging has been working with several variations of the transportation program for at least 25 years. These prior programs mainly utilized volunteers. The volunteer services proved very difficult to provide consistent coverage for a transportation program, and each variation was subsequently abandoned. The COA board continued to discuss a transportation program and instituted a transportation voucher and a beta pass sales program, both are voucher programs, in 2009. Due to budgetary concerns, the COA advisory board eliminated the transportation program in June of 2011. However, in December of 2011, the COA received a $40,000 donation that was identified especially to be used for the transportation program, and this was used to revive the program. In June of 2015, the COA received a client memorial from the Whitcoff estate of approximately $56,000. This was used over a period of 3 years for $15,500 for transportation vouchers and $3,000 for the beta passes individually. And that came to about $55,500. When I actually say transportation vouchers, I'm actually talking about cab rides, cabs, and then occasionally, like a home health company will take a van and we'll pay for that. So that's included in that transportation voucher. So our current transportation program, a little complicated, but it's we will sell vouchers to any senior in Grand Traverse County. However, what we have done prior to 2016 and after 2016 is limit the number of vouchers that can be purchased. This was apparently open before 2016, and it was opened up, and during that year, we had 22 people who unfortunately overextended their use in purchasing. One client actually purchased 840, and they were selling them to people that were not 60. So that was decided to change that program. We now limit them, and I think they've done a really good job as far as deciding what that number will be as far as the voucher program. Because as far as the cab vouchers, we're literally we're up to 81% of what they can actually purchase, so we're right there in the ballpark. As far as beta passes, 407 were sold for $12,210, and we're at 74%. So on an overall average, the clients are purchasing 79% what we have that we offer. As far as unduplicated clients, overall, we have 294 that have utilized both these types of vouchers. Transportation vouchers are the greater purchase. I think it's easier, a lot of time convenience. Do I take a cab or a bus? If I can take a cab, I guess I'll take a cab. Beta passes were 54 unduplicated. Again, total unduplicated clients were 294, and this was in 2017. So our current transportation program, the income coming out of this really showed just a total income of $6,054. It averages out to about $20 a person. We do this on a sliding scale, how we determine how much it's going to cost. The budget for 2018, we actually ramped it up a little bit. It was decided to try to meet whatever the offering was out there, so that could be included in the budget. And you can see compared to 2017, it's a little bit higher. Again, to make sure that we could cover all the costs of the vouchers that are available. The limitation and concerns of the current program is that it's administratively extremely cumbersome. The staff have to literally print out vouchers, cut them out, mail them to the clients, bill the vendors. It goes back, it's a lot of costs and time put into that. Literally takes one person a 40-hour week. So the vouchers for transportation, which are cabs or vans, can usually provide rides, 2 to 8 rides. It depends on how costly it is. Sometimes the home health companies use their vans. It's much more costly. The beta passes can literally equate to maybe 90 to 180 rides, depending on the destination. The beta passes are not client-specific and could potentially be sold to someone else, as we've seen in the past. The benefits to that program is that transportation vouchers provide immediate use by a cab or home health care vehicles, which allow a home health care worker to actually travel with the client to appointments. Many clients have a difficult time, if they're not on the Coast Bus, getting on the bus and walking to and from a stop. And beta passes can be used anytime when a beta is running. And some of the buses run actually from 6 in the morning till midnight. So our Coast Bus, what does that provide? Our Coast Bus provides, again, door-to-door service for seniors. They actually get assisted. We estimate 70 to 80% of the time has been reported to us that they're actually assisting our members to the door and onto the bus. There's a senior-friendly, dedicated driver who can help the clients on and off the bus. We're actually, if this gets approved, we've already had discussions with United Way, and we're looking at an ambassador Coast service that we would actually get volunteer students and a mix of seniors and students, having someone on the bus for additional support and help, and to make it a more friendly experience. Also, we allow clients to have a caregiver travel with them at any time, so that could be a family member, whatever. The bus is only for seniors, and thus eliminating competition with the general public for availability. There are no links to catch or waiting times at a terminal, which can be confusing for some COA clients. Again, I've mentioned before that it's amazing that we've had no complaints. No one has been left anywhere, not picked up, stranded, not picked up on time. We have no complaints regarding that, which, again, is a major feat. I can really say it's part of it, the bus driver and how they schedule the rides and whatnot. There are no links to catch or waiting times at a terminal, which can be confusing, as I said. We also allow bags, unlimited number of bags. We haven't had any issues so far to be brought on the bus, and then we assist the clients on and off the bus with those bags. Beta makes all the appointments, so there are no administrative costs to us at all. So the pilot costs, this is actually, we couldn't get the most latest data, but it's for 2 months, basically, from 11/13 when we started through the end of January. We paid $270 a day for the driver. That's for 9 hours of service. So the total driver fees were $6,210. We do pay for this shrink wrap, which is actually a one-time cost to have the shrink wrap done. And these buses not only ride, like right now, we're presently riding Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they're out there 7 days a week. So we feel like it's a roving 2 billboards that are constantly going around the city. And we think that's a really big advantage to, say, advertising through a newspaper or on one single billboard. So the unduplicated clients through January 31st were 75, but currently, as of today, we have 82 unduplicated clients. Continually on a daily basis, every day we have the bus out there, we get 3 more new clients. We actually have more than 30 new COA clients that came to us because of hearing of this, and we've been able to provide them with other services, which they were not aware of. The reason we want them to be COA clients, again, it gives us a broader reach. We want to know what our population is and how we can service them and how we can reach out to them better. So the budget, 2017, for some reason it wasn't budgeted, even though that's when the idea was brought about. 2018, they were only budgeted $20,000. I'm not sure why that occurred. The cost projections for looking at 2018, what we would like to do is add a 4th day in the 3rd quarter and a 5th day in the 4th quarter. That total cost would come for the whole program of $56,850. If we projected it into 2019, and it was 5 days, with obviously being the full 12 months, the program would be $74,400. The limitations, again, it only runs from 8 to 5, it runs weekdays only, and it currently runs 3 days per week right now. We'll listen until it's increased. I just put this kind of busy slide on here. You've seen this before. I think the thing to look at that I looked at was, one of the things was denial of riders. They couldn't get them situated on any bus, not even any other Beta bus besides the Coast. So as we saw that rise, we added that other day because it was a minimal cost, and we saw the numbers start to come down. And again, we see them keep increasing every day that we use the bus. Also, there's actually 506 total trips that we've made today with our 82 unduplicated clients. So one thing we can look at, we could keep the transportation vouchers, which again are administratively horrific, and that's a cost of $64,000 per the budget. The Beta passes are $12,000 for a total cost of $76,000. So the combined cost would cost $132,850. The other option, as recommended by the board previously, that we wanted to look at, and when you mentioned it the first time, I had no clue as to what it could possibly cost, is that we would give Beta rides for free, starting in April of 2018. Because it's not the whole year, that cost would be $33,770. We're basing that cost on the fact that Beta has reported that they serviced in 2017 50,000 clients, senior clients. Would that number stay the same? We have no way of knowing. One of the other things that Beta is projecting is that they're looking at providing in June a brand new service free to everybody, regardless of what your age is, to go down the really congested areas in Traverse City that would go all the way down to 4 Mile Road and around the city, which would be fantastic, I think, as far as relieving congestion, toxic fumes, that kind of thing. So if that was free, that could also bring down our ridership, because you wouldn't have to show anything to get on the bus, just everybody gets on the bus. Again, the combined cost then for option 2 would be $154,620 a year. So other things, as I mentioned, there's 50,000 riders currently in 2017. Again, that cost would be estimated by Beta would be around $45,000. Again, we could start this service April 1st if you wanted to have all the seniors in Grand Traverse County ride the bus, any bus, for free. So it would be either the Link or the Loop bus. Right now, COA, so we are getting some advantages. We're paying $30 an hour for the dedicated service, where it costs Beta literally $55 an hour. We also get a break in the shrink wrap and the advertising, so that helps. So we're recommending the idea that we try it. Try to see if this would work. Again, we can't project the numbers or know what they're going to be for sure, as far as how many people would be riding, when we hope people would take advantage of it, and realizing what the costs are. But what we'd like to do is get rid of our transportation vouchers, so it could eliminate all the betas, and we'd get rid of our cab vouchers. Now, that's not to say, and we do this all the time, if we have somebody who needs emergently or urgently to get somewhere, we put them in a cab, and we take care of that. So we still have a relationship with the cab companies and the home health companies, so that wouldn't be done away totally, it's just that we wouldn't be doing the voucher program. So that's one of the recommendations. So how can it be a sustainable program? As I said, the only way that we can think of that it could be sustained, and we'd like to try it as a trial, is to eliminate the voucher programs. That would come to a total cost, and say it was 2019, $119,400. To date, it's February 7th, and we've already sold $10,000 worth of transportation vouchers already just this year, and over about 2,300 worth of beta passes. So that's why if we're doing the Coast Bus in increments, we figure that we'll just let the transportation vouchers, continue through this year, and not do that until 2019. So I'm sure you have lots of questions or thoughts.
Tom, go ahead.
So they're helping with, there's one person on the bus currently, no extra volunteers on the Coast Bus, and they'll help people get on and off and
Correct.
up the steps. They'll help them with bags.
Correct.
Does that mean they carry the bags up to the person's home too, or?
Yes.
So
that's why we thought another, ambassador to kind of help assist, coordinate things, just be kind of social. People really feel like it's a social experience. So we've actually talked to 36 of the clients that have actually taken the bus. We're actually going to do, if you approve our Coast Bus, we're actually going to send out a survey that we already have planned with 5 questions, giving a rating. But we've actually talked to the people and asked them, what did they think about the program? What was their experience? We've had no negative comments except for the fact that one day Cheryl couldn't drive. And then they also wanted us to extend it more hours, but, those were the only negative comments.
what about people with bags and they're going to the airport? Is that,
I don't know if we've had any I don't know. We haven't had any issues, so I don't know. There's been no complaints.
at Hall
No
Street there is the Indian Trails Bus Depot, but nobody could leave their car there. So, there's an opportunity there
Right.
because it's all at the same station.
Right.
To maybe ferry some of those people who are over 60, because they'll have bags if they're on the bus. There's no place to put a car, maybe they don't even own a car. And what exactly is the vehicle that the home health company uses? Is that like a van with a lift on it, or?
It's a van. I'm not sure. I don't know exactly what it is.
So people use that to go to medical appointments and?
And that's not very often.
Non-ambulance
It's just
type
once in a
travel?
while that they accompany the driver. We've actually put a client in a cab and followed them, that kind of thing. We don't put any clients in our vehicles at all for the liability.
So who would be harmed by ending the voucher system? No one?
Well, I don't think, they've got all the bus system to take advantage of. So it could be a few people who like the convenience of a cab. Because it's wheelchair accessible, you get help on and off, that's more than a cab driver would do. I see it as a benefit.
Yeah, but what will be the chance, and how will you be able to keep meeting demand by having enough buses and drivers?
Well, that's one thing that I said we don't know that for sure.
No?
They can get on any bus, and then we have to keep looking at the numbers. We look at the numbers every single day the bus goes out. We look at who the clients are.
And you're not the bus company, but I think the bus company is actually advertising for drivers currently and has to offer a bonus because there's not enough people willing to drive a bus, perhaps. Is that?
I can't speak to that. I can only know that we've had no problems with our Coast Bus driver.
So do you want to set a time limit in months on the next expansion of the program so that it's not unlimited?
Well, we could look at doing it just through 2018 if you wanted to do that, or doing it to 2019, but if it was the end of 2018, at least we could look at the numbers and see. We wouldn't really know, though, exactly what would happen because we'd still have the cab vouchers. So it could be going through 2019. Again, we could come on a monthly basis or just provide you with the data as we go along.
Cheryl and then Dan.
You said that Beta said that they had 50,000 senior clients in 2017.
Correct.
There's only 100,000 people in Grand Traverse County. I can't believe 50,000 of the people in Grand Traverse County are...
50,000 senior rides.
Oh, yeah.
Every
So
time
again,
somebody
this is
gets on the ride.
this is not the unduplicated head count. If I rode the bus 200 times, that counts 200.
What we're looking at is trying to estimate what the cost would be. So if we're getting charged per ride, what would it cost us? So that's why we looked at rides. We didn't look at their unduplicated number, we just looked at ours.
Okay, so again, just so that I'm clear, Beta told you that they have data that supports 50,000 senior citizens of Grand Traverse County
Use their bus.
rode the bus
Right.
in 2017.
Right.
50,000.
That's what they said, yes.
Okay. My second question. Of the coast rides, do you have a geography for us? Where are those rides originating from? What part of the county?
You know, it's a little bit all over, but I could end up providing you with that, I just don't have it tonight.
I would like to see a schematic that would show where these riders are coming from.
Right, the other thing, we also looked at what time of day. Was it more focused, you know, were people being denied because of the time of the day? And that was all over the place, too. We could definitely get that
I think
data
it would
for you.
help us to have more data,
Sure.
because you've told us that this program is not available after 5 on the weekends.
The Coast Bus, but if we
That's
opened it up
correct.
to everywhere that they could get on, and without help, obviously.
Okay, and so, again, I mean, right now, the buses go everywhere, right?
Right.
Everywhere that Coast goes, the buses go.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Dan, did you have a
That's
comment?
that may not be right. The buses don't go to a person's house. Coast does.
You can still call.
You can call and have a
yeah,
bus come
but-
and get you.
Well, there
Yeah,
is,
that's true, but I'm saying that
Well, that's not a
we've got
problem.
Lincoln Loop, and they don't go to
Sure.
house. Oh,
Right.
Okay.
But Beta will go to your house if you
Yeah,
call them.
yeah, I get it, okay.
it's more of a, it's a point-to-point service, not a door-to-door service.
Yeah.
There's a distinct difference.
I'm chairman of Beta,
Right.
and so Kelly is here. One of the things that concerns me is the sustainability. You know, you say, well, we're just going to do this for a year. We've had times in the past where we'll get involved and do this, work with another public entity, and then they say, well, we're not going to continue the program. One of the problems is that the public blames us, Beta, so I'm hoping that, you know, even if we pass this tonight, that doesn't mean it's going to happen. We need to negotiate with Beta, make sure that there's an understanding of what service we're providing and how long.
Well, one thing we've been really good at collecting data, we actually converse with Beta on a daily basis.
Yeah.
They've been great as far as sharing information. We go back and forth, we meet. We've already discussed this. Again, we can say we don't know how many senior riders are going to be. I do think that if their Bay line goes through, which I hope it does, that's going to reduce the overall amount. We won't even know if they're a senior or not. They're just going to get on these numbers.
I'm just saying it's not a done deal. If we decided tonight, you know, I have a board and we have responsibilities. So I've got 2 hats on here. And we have to look out for Beta and its stability.
Right.
So,
again,
Kelly,
I
do you
think
want to
it's-
say anything tonight? Did I just say it? Okay.
Yeah, again, I think Kelly, we've already talked about it. She was worried,
Yeah.
how would we sustain it? And that's why we came up with the fact, again, the voucher program is just administratively very tough.
I want you to realize, I want this to happen.
I'm
It's not-
sure
I'm
you
not
do,
against
yeah.
it. I just.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
But again, how we could afford it is to get rid of the voucher program, which already
Okay.
costs us $76,000 anyway. That would even pay for the Coast Bus, would be like free, let alone the other
yeah.
$45,000 we're talking about, that might be less.
Yeah.
We don't know. That's why we have to be careful and monitor and see and report.
You have answered one of my worries about it, is that I wondered about sustainability, and when I
Well,
see.
that's why we
Yeah.
that's why we would like to do away with the voucher program,
Yeah,
which we don't think would be a loss.
okay, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
On and then Sunny. You're-
How many cab rides have the COA provided of the vouchers?
I don't know the number exactly of cab rides. Let's see. I just know that the cost of cab rides, actually not sure of the cost of cab rides.
Well, and where I was going with
I
it
think they
is,
vary because it would depend on too how far you're going.
right, and
Whether
what impact's this going to have on the cab company? How big of a customer is COA to the cab?
It could
companies?
impact the cab companies. The people, I'm assuming the people are still using cabs. And we'll still use them too.
You'll-
Not maybe just as often, but it would
Right.
impact.
And, and they, I'm sure, have increased their fleet for the ridership that they have. I just, it's questions got to go out there as to the impact
And I
on,
know Uber is new, fairly new to town too, right? So that's probably impacting.
yeah, COA probably isn't,
We're not,
you Uber providers, or,
no, we're not.
Okay.
Actually, in Illinois, you have to have a special driver that has to be certified to be an Uber driver to transport what you know. If we were doing it for medical reasons, if they don't know it's for medical reason, then they're fine. But if it's transporting any kind of a patient or somebody you have concerns with, it has to be a specialized certified driver.
thank you.
Sonny?
I'm back to the idea about the vouchers. You already talked about, you've sold $10,000 worth of vouchers already in 2018. If you disconnect the voucher program, what happens to those $10,000 worth
Oh,
of
no,
vouchers?
so we're projecting, we want to leave the voucher program alone, because we haven't even ramped up the Coast Bus. So for 2018, the vouchers are going to be used all through the year. And the reason it's such a big cost already is that people come out right away and buy their vouchers for the year. So we don't want to take that away from them. That reason, plus the fact that it allows us to see how how people are responding to the Coast Bus, and how we're doing with the overall program. Again, this isn't just a carte blanche, we won't look at it again. I mean, we study the data every week, every day the bus goes out, we look and see who they are, where they live. I'm sorry, I can't provide exactly where they are now, but we can do that easily.
So, I like the idea of them being able to get on any bus. The idea that we're taking a beta bus and doing door-to-door thing just blows my mind of what it costs to do that. It just,
Well, remember, the
It doesn't
Coast
make
Bus
any
should really
sense.
only be for a special population. These are the people that really can't drive, or maybe they're older and in the winter they don't want to drive in the snow. So a lot of people, there's very active people over 60, 80 years old that can jump on, people in their 80s jump on the Link buses all the time.
well, and
So
that's
they
my...
wouldn't necessarily be on the Coast Bus. Only the
Okay.
Coast Bus is doing a door-to-door service.
Okay, so the Coast Bus is doing door-to-door services, and all of the Links and the Loop buses we're going to make...
Continue doing what they're doing.
Right. I'm not sure that we owe it to them for zero. I think there should be a copay for it. No, I don't... A vast majority of the seniors in this community could pay $1 a ride. If they pay, if 50,000 riders each paid $1, all of a sudden this price tag becomes reasonable. I'm not sure that it is free. I guess I'd like to have some more information about those kind of options. I like the idea that we make the buses available to everyone, all the seniors, if that's what we want to do. But I'm not sure I buy the idea that they should be free.
Bob?
I'd still like to see something where we try to do this in-house, with a combination of somebody that you pay a couple days a week and volunteers. Just because it didn't work once, doesn't mean you can't try it again to see why didn't it work.
Well, first of all, I see the bus company Beta as master schedulers. I can't even imagine doing that. Again, I come from Illinois where it was transportation for the managed care organization was a nightmare. People were not picked up, stranded, then the doctors wouldn't see them because they canceled their appointments. It was a strategic nightmare.
So you don't want to even go down that route, is what you're saying right
I wouldn't
now?
want to go down. Do I want to end up being the scheduler? I mean, that's what they do. That's their expertise. That's why we wanted to partner with them. They know how to take care of a bus, run
It's
it.
just a lot of money for a few amount of people that this is serving, to me. It really is. And the sustainability is a big question. Because I can see down the road that this starts going and then next millage request is going to be higher because, well, we've got this much more in transportation funds that we're doing.
Well, that's why we didn't ask for an unended, we're asking for like a pilot. And it's up to you. You were the ones that recommended, I felt like, free rides for the seniors, showing a card.
Oh, Cheryl, and then Dan.
Well, I did ask you to look at it. And by asking you to look at it didn't mean that I was endorsing it. It meant, let's look at it.
We didn't think
Okay?
that anybody was
And
endorsing.
so...
We just wanted to see what the numbers
Okay,
were and what it looked like.
understood. And so my question, and I guess my comment is that, do people who currently utilize Coast pay anything for the service?
No,
Have you qualified or pre-qualified them to demonstrate that they have no ability to pay anything for it?
not at this current time. we've not.
Okay,
We
and
do
this
a
is where,
sliding
and this
scale.
is my problem, okay? My problem is that anybody who can't afford to pay, we should pay. Anybody who can afford to pay, should pay something. And I think that it is incumbent upon us, as the keepers of the public purse, to not just give away money. Now, if people, want a reduced rate because of their reduced circumstances, I think that's absolutely why that money is there. But, I'm over 60, I can pay $1 to ride the bus. I could probably pay $2 to ride the bus. I could probably pay $3 to ride the bus. I understand that there's this mindset that this is going to be cumbersome. On the other hand, the bus, as you said, gathers data all the time. The bus needs to be in charge of that, not you. The bus needs to ascertain whether the rider, is over 60 or not. If you give us a card for COA membership and we show our card and it's blue, that means I pay $1. If it's green, it means I pay $2. If it's orange, that means I pay $3, whatever. There's a way to do it. It's not rocket science, but it needs to be equitable and fair, and it needs to provide dignity to the people that we're giving this service to, okay? There's no dignity in a handout. There just isn't. There's dignity in saying, we want to help you, and we're all going to work together, and what can you contribute?
So in 2017, we took in about $6,045 in the voucher program. So obviously, it looks like it's the lower income people were the ones that are probably utilizing the system.
Well, we just spent a whole lot more than that in the last 2.5 months doing our pilot program. So we can spend it a lot faster and we can make it. That's the theory of that
Well,
story.
I'm just giving you that information to give you an idea of, because it was based on scale for the voucher program.
So you're saying that the 75 people who are using Coast are financially unable to contribute anything to the
No,
cost of their
I was
ride?
talking about our voucher program, not the Coast program.
Okay.
Dan?
Stupid question. How will a person, if they're going to use the regular Beta bus for free or whatever, how will they have to join COA to do that?
We would like them to join COA, and the reason is so that we would have an idea, as I said before, of what our population is.
Yes.
So that we could target them, gives us a broader reach, so that we can do mailings, contact them, let them know, and provide
I would
them with
support
more
that.
services.
Yeah, I'd like to see that they join COA, then they become aware of other things that we offer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People that have called up already, like our 30 new clients already have
Yeah.
started using other services. That's why we want it's a broader reach to contact.
So then you don't have a person stepping on the bus and saying, I'm 60, and how are you going to figure it out if they are or not?
Right, exactly.
Well, I'm perfectly happy with the idea that Cheryl has, because, and as we register them as COA members, I can rate their ability by which to pay. And do, okay, you're going to get on the bus and you have a blue card, you're on for free. If you don't have, then you pay a portion. I think I like that idea, because I truly believe there are a lot of seniors in this community that may or may not use the bus, but have the ability by which to pay. And I don't, even though the voters in our community have done very well about supporting our millages for our seniors, and I appreciate that, but at the same time, I think that support also comes with the caveat that we're going to make sure that those seniors who need the service are provided the service.
Dan?
Again, with my Beta hat on, we're all talking about how this is going to happen, but Beta Bus has to implement it. And so the scenario you're discussing may not be the best way. They're the experts. The intent can be there, but we can't dictate to Beta blue card, green card, because their staff is going to have to handle all this, including collecting the money. So, am I right? Yeah, so I know we're being inventive here, but the other half of this equation, in fact, the brains of it is Beta. So we want to make sure that we're not trying to legislate how they're going to manage it.
We did a token program a few years ago, I recall.
Yeah.
You know, and it may or may not have worked, I don't know. I've never been on the Beta bus myself.
But you get my
other than to
point.
Fix it.
You get my point, right?
Broken parts.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think, I would like to say that, you know,
Yes.
it takes a further conversation to evaluate, do we want to charge people or not?
I think it might.
I think a good decision would be, where do we want to go with the Coast Bus right now?
Yes, I think that's the
Basically-
decision we need to make today.
Right.
Yes. So if we want to leave the other as far as free rides or identifying themselves or identifying their ability to pay, and we can get some more information on that, and get information from Beta as to how they might implement something like that. We do need to decide, though, I think, this evening as to whether or not to continue the Coast Bus, at least for a period of time.
Did we have a motion yet?
We did not. We
Oh.
had discussion first to see where we wanted to go with it. So, what time frame do you need? Do you need 3 more months, or?
Well, it depends on what you want to do. Would you
Okay.
want to continue just the 3 days? Add on one more day? Do the 2018 projection of just adding on 1 day in the 3rd quarter and then another day in the 4th quarter?
Okay, what's
Happy to
the,
come back anytime to, again, provide you with information as far as how it's going.
okay, what's the pleasure of the board? Sunny?
And Chairman, I would move to approve continuing the coastline 3 days a week through 2018.
Okay.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Johnson.
I
Sunny?
guess the discussion would be, I'd really like to have us evaluate whether or not some of these people that are using this service that we're paying a bunch of money for have the ability to pay.
We have that information.
Okay.
And I don't think, just, the service is available 3 days a week. You can figure out a way to make your doctor's appointment on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You don't have to go Tuesday afternoon. If you do, then you're on your own to figure out how to get there. But primarily, I believe that we need to evaluate whether or not at least some of these users have an ability to pay, and what that level of payment might be.
I think it needs a little bit more time to evaluate. So, Tom, yes?
Well, and we can modify it.
Sure.
If it doesn't work, like you wanted to add a 4th and a 5th day, if it really becomes cumbersome on 3 days, it's not going to work.
If you
Come back.
find there's a lot of complaints that there's
Yeah.
not an extra day,
Yeah, but if
come
you've
to
had-
us and
If
ask.
you've had 50-some
Yeah,
riders total in 2 months, it's not, there's not going to be 100 people trying to get on it next week either.
Well, again, 75 riders in 2 months.
yeah.
82 in almost 4 weeks. So again, 3 more new people, I think that's pretty great. I mean, for a new
Yes.
service, that every day we talk to people that don't even know it exists. You think that everybody would, but they don't. So again, 3 new people every day. I'm not saying every week, every day, get on that bus. So,
Well, every time we talk about it, though, it gets more out there, and the newspaper picks it up, and,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
So, yes, Dan?
So I like what you said, Tom, that if it becomes clear that there's a need, we can expand it. Is this board comfortable with that?
I am. Come
Yeah,
back to
I
us and
think- I
ask.
think
Well,
that's
tell them to
fine,
come
but-
back. I mean,
Yeah.
all we
Yeah,
need is
come
data.
back,
I
and
mean,
and I
that's all we're
expect that
asking for.
we're going to hear back from them
Yeah.
about the possibility of expanding and making the regular Beta routes available to seniors. And I understand the voucher program is a hassle. It's always been a hassle, But, there's got to be a way that we can make mass transportation available to these folks at a discounted rate if that's what they need. Obviously, if we have a senior in our area that needs to use mass transportation, Beta, whatever we're going to call it, and they have the ability to pay, if that's what they need to do, they're already paying. So why do I want to say, okay, anybody over 60, I'll automatically pay for?
Okay. Tom? And then
Okay,
we're gonna
media.
vote.
you have to get the word out that it also includes assistance, that somebody's actually going to help with the bags, or somebody's going to help them up the step. This is something that the other bus drivers are not doing necessarily. I bet you they make exceptions occasionally, but that really adds a lot. I think what gets out there is that it's free, and that assistance that's available from the person operating the bus, people may not know that, and I think that's a big plus. So I'd like to see that catch on more, that it's not just free, that seems to stick, but that help and assistance is there. Especially carrying bags. I mean, that's almost like some of the benefit that they would get if they were using a taxi, really.
Maybe.
So, Kelly wanted to mention the fact that they are charging the seniors 75 cents or $1.50 currently. It's not a sliding scale, but.
On the regular bus?
Right,
Yeah,
the
okay.
regular gate buses.
Okay. Okay,
Now, who's keeping
So-
that money? Beta?
yeah.
Keep in mind,
I don't
too,
think there's
that,
any
So we
of
don't
us,
see
You
it.
get nothing,
I
Jack.
don't think there's any of us that needs to move from point A to point B without having to pay something.
Dan?
keep in mind, too, that Beta is contributing to this, because they're doing it at less than their cost. So
It's a collaborative
not
effort.
really
yeah.
free.
No,
But it's helping
That's why I
numbers
brought
for
that
them,
up.
too.
it is.
Huh?
It's helping numbers for them, too, so.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's a partnership.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so the motion is to extend the 3 days a week coast bus through the end of 2018. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We are going to move on to our treasurer. We have an unclaimed property escheat, is that how you say that? Policy? Escheat.
Bless you.
It's cheap.
Yeah,
Sounds like somebody taking a test that hasn't,
they're cheating.
they're cheating, yeah.
Yes.
It's cheap.
Welcome.
Thank you. Heidi Sheppy, County Treasurer. Just want to make clarification. I have 2 policies and 1 procedure here that are going before you to be approved. They're all in your packets, but the heading just says the one. So the first one, just kind of a little background. When the auditors came in last year, we do not have these policies currently. We had always used a narrative with Riemann. It was just a summary of how things worked, and that's all they ever needed. We did not have a policy, so over the year, we worked out a policy. This is how things work in the county, just putting it in writing. So the escheating policy, unclaimed property is in regards to checks or any kind of funds that we have that are unclaimed. The cash handling is reflective of the cash that comes into Grand Traverse County, and procedures is the procedures within the departments. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
I mean, so this is, we're already doing this, and it's
Yeah,
just laying
this is-
out in writing what we already do.
Correct.
Okay.
And it has been to, both Civil Council and Finance Department have reviewed it. It has gone to a department head meeting, and all the department heads have reviewed it as well.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments for Heidi?
It's always amazing to me that anything over $25 we're going to send to the state.
Well, actually, that is, the state of Michigan has their unclaimed website, so their goal is to get it to the state, so whenever people are looking for money, they're not going to every different county, every different township. It all goes to that one website where they can look for
There's
it.
a clearinghouse.
Yeah,
so-
clearinghouse effect there.
And the state clears most of it.
I don't trust them.
Do I have a motion?
Do you want to change the resolution, Heidi, just so it's clear?
Yeah, I believe, because the resolution only includes the unclaimed property escheatment policy and the cash handling policy, we need to amend it to add the cash handling procedures on there.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Johnson, supported by Commissioner Gorfulet. So it's the resolution we have here and adding cash handling procedures?
Correct.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there you go. Thank you. Thank you. We will move on to finance. We have the MERS defined benefit contribution for 2018. Dean?
We're requesting your consideration to authorize the entire $5.9 million payment to MERS this month. There was some discussion last year about doing that, and I think one of the concerns would have been how that might have impacted your cash flow. I have discussed this with Heidi Sheppy, the county treasurer, and we do have the means to make that payment. Basically, we want to have the funds there with MERS working, earning as high a rate of return as we can, and as I've indicated here, the last paragraph, this could help us in the event that we weren't at the 60% level when we get our next actuarial valuation. So this is a budgeted item. It would be basically making the entire payment rather than a monthly payment.
So move.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Gorfulet, supported by Commissioner Wheelock. Go ahead, Sonny, and
Well,
then
I
Dan, if you
think,
have
I
a
think we
comment.
had quite a bit of discussion late in 2017 about the fact that if we made this payment earlier in the year, you know, I'm pretty sure Heidi can tell us how much return she's getting on her money that she has invested compared to what MERS is projecting that we will see if we're part of the pool. Whether or not we actually, in fact, will see what they're projecting remains to be seen, but I think we've got a better chance of getting more in the pool than we have been, Heidi, trying to invest this $5 million. And primarily, the biggest thing is, you know, we came to an agreement with MERS, this is how we're going to take care of our pension deficit, and we have the money available, let's make the damn payment.
So Dan and then Tom.
Well, I'm proud of this board because this is the proof in the pudding that we have a cure for our pension debt. And wow, this feels great.
We're taking care of it.
Yeah, we're taking care of it. I'm pumped. Yeah.
Good. Tom?
Well, it's an excellent idea, and it's just academic that you would want to pay it as early as you can because you get the benefit of it. You wouldn't get the same benefit if you spent it in December. And if the money is available in January of 2019, I would suggest that we put it to our agenda to, you know, ask the same question about a month earlier to see if we can get it even out earlier.
So noted.
Okay.
Will not forget.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you very much. Good choice. You're going to move on to administration. We have the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission up again. Jean?
As identified in the memorandum, we were not approved on the first round of our application. I was able to talk to Jana yesterday, and basically what she said is to just let you know that there's only 10 to 15 plans that were approved in the state of Michigan, and that not to put an identified number on your application, because there's a couple of other things that she will need to work with us on to make that application on February 20th. So I'm just notifying you basically to say that we need to amend the application and just authorization to let you know that I'm going to amend it and send it in.
Do you need a motion to the effect authorizing administration to submit a revised resolution?
Just the motion to revise and submit, but don't put a number on it, because at this point, I don't know what that number is yet.
Madam Chairman, I would move to authorize administration to revise and submit a application on behalf of Grand Traverse County to the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Gorfulet. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, Jean. We have property update. I believe Commissioner Mayer had asked for an update on the Blaine's Farm and Fleet property, and we do have an update on our desk.
Yes, and I put that on your desk, and I basically identified that this is a property in Blair Township. It was a tax foreclosed property that the Land Bank Authority, in partnership with the Township of Blair, to market and try to get this back on the tax rolls. This was a property that had a special assessment tied to it for water and sewer. And instead of marketing it as a 70-acre parcel, we put it into 3 parcels, and that helped tremendously. And we do have a purchase agreement as identified at $93,333 per acre, and it's about 18-plus acres that we'll be selling there. Land Bank Authority did, at their January meeting, discuss this, and we'll be paying off the Blair Township's assessment. The remaining net proceeds will be coming back to the County Board of Commissioners. And those net proceeds, after we pay Blair Township, and also put a light at Rennie School in M37. And that light was an important component to this for not just the Blaine's new property, but also we have one of our major employers on that road, being Elmer's Crane and Dozer. And to have a light there would help tremendously for that. So the net proceeds can be projected between $400,000 to $700,000. It depends on how many acres they'll be buying, because they have to survey that. But the net proceeds will be coming to the county board, which is significant for the board itself. And we still have 2 parcels left to sell.
Tom, and then Bob.
Oh, well, thank you for that, Jean. I appreciate that. And that's pretty exciting that we'll have a check like that we'll be able to decide on what to do with. And one of the things that I would throw out way in advance is that it go towards OPEB, the other retirement benefits, since we sit even lower as a percentage of funding that than we do the MERS, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I'm glad that Blair Township can recoup what they have in that sale, their investment. They're going to get the largest portion of the money back. So it really works out for everybody, and thanks again.
Bob?
Does MDOT have to approve that traffic light, and have they, or how does that work?
We being the Land Bank Authority, have engaged a company, I can't think of their name right now, Progressive A&E, I believe, and they already did a preliminary review to identify that it will be needed there. So MDOT has already worked with us on the front end. Now we've engaged them to actually do the whole study for that. So we're halfway there, Bob, to
I know
identify.
for years we tried to get one in Kingsley, and we didn't meet the criteria. So like I said, I was just kind of curious how you meet the criteria there just to add one. It may be a whole different criteria.
It's not just to add it, it has a lot to do with traffic trips.
Volume.
The volume of that. So we knew we were pretty close, but adding that, the Blaine's on there, provided that traffic light that it's needed.
Nice.
Sunny?
Well, a couple other things about the traffic light. One, you may recall that there was a traffic light at that intersection during the reconstruction of Chumps Corners. Somehow or another, in my mind, I couldn't figure out why they took it out after the construction was finished, because the traffic back up at that intersection, trying to get in and out of Sherwin-Williams or trying to watch an Elmer's gravel train coming out and making a left-hand turn onto US 31, 37 is just amazing to me. I did, on behalf of this county, sign that purchase agreement, as a member of the Land Bank Authority.
Thank you, Sonny.
I do think it's important to note that, one, we are paying back the Special Assessment District of Blair Township. That's a great thing. And the traffic light is going to be great for our community as a whole. I believe, unless somebody's going to change it, this board has been on record previously that sale of any county property goes to the pension fund. So I understand your comment about the OPEB, but unless we're going to change the resolution that was passed previously, any county property that's sold goes to the pension fund.
Bob?
Well, I think it's definitely something to entertain, because now with what the state passed, we're going to be under constraints and pressure to get that up.
So we might want to change that resolution.
So I will have to look at it.
But,
Because OPEB's pension too, let's face it.
Exactly. It's a
kissing cousin.
post-employment benefit, absolutely. But the big thing is, we don't know exactly what the dollar amount's going to be, but it's probably going to be somewhere close to $500,000 that we will have available for the proceeds of this piece of property. And I want to thank Jean for all of her efforts for this process, and also 3 West, because Kevin's done a great job with this, because this was not an easy piece of property to sell. It's got a lot of topography issues, and with all due respect to Blair Township, it has some significant zoning problems. You know, so we've got to get them to the table and make some decisions about allowing us to rezone the other 2 portions of that property in order to be able to market them.
Well said.
Anybody else, comments, questions? Okay, thank you very much, Jean. We'll move on to Commissioner Salary Compensation. This is up again because we need to decide, I think, before the filing deadline, so people know exactly what they're getting into. Jean?
It starts on page 122 of your packet, and I basically put together, Vicki Uppel, before she left, sent you out an email which identified the population, the 2014 Commissioner salary information from the Michigan Association of Counties, and the 2017 real property tax SCV. And basically what I did is I looked at what the SCVs, what the salaries were for those comparative counties, and just took the average of those and recommended that based on the size of our county, the policies that you look at, the budget that you are responsible for, that a salary for a county commissioner is basically needed when you look at all of the counties that there are in the state of Michigan. Grand Traverse really sticks out that you are not being paid at this time. And my recommendation is that you just take the average of those counties and have that as your salary. I have not identified a per diem, and what I haven't put in there is, I think I identified that all of the counties identified that they do receive health and retirement as well. So I'm putting that out, and I did talk to Civil Council about the need that you have to set your salary before 12/31/18 to be effective 1/1/19. So between now and then, you must set, or it stays as is.
Dan, what do you think?
I make the motion that we do accept Jean's recommendations for the commissioner's salary.
With or without per diem? I think that needs to be...
I was assuming that her recommendation did not include per diem.
Per diem, I did say per diem would not be recommended for 2019.
Yeah. So I'm just, I'm open for discussion, but I'm just making the motion to get discussion
All right,
started.
we'll make the motion. Is there a
Yeah.
second for that? And then we can discuss.
No.
Or do we want to discuss first and see what kind of motion comes out of
I guess
it?
I'd like to discuss first.
We can do that. Can you
All right.
rescind the motion for
Yes,
now?
of course.
Thank you. Let's discuss and see, maybe a motion will naturally
All right.
come.
One of the things, some of you may remember I did previously, and then I asked Dean to provide me information today. I had him go back to 2016, which was the last year county commissioners in Grand Traverse County were paid. And we took the salaries and the per diems, added them together. The average commissioner of the 7 commissioners got paid $10,344. You know, now that is between salary and per diems. And as we all remember, the salary was $7,000. The chairman got $8,000 and $35 per meeting. The per diem thing has always been a hassle. It's always been an argument about who goes to what meetings, was that a necessary meeting for them to go to, and this and that. I made the motion in 2016 that we eliminate per diems and we set a flat rate salary. And my recommendation, if we were going to do that, and one of the questions that comes up, you know, and it came up before, and it's, you know, still going on, even though the salary was reduced to $1, commissioners are still being offered health insurance. You know, and I know that there are people in the community that aren't real happy about your part-time job, you know, and I know how many hours it takes to do it, so I'm not sure that I define it as a part-time job, but provides health insurance for commissioners. And, you know, my discussion before was that we eliminate per diems, we eliminate health insurance, but make health insurance available to those who choose to purchase it at the county's price. You know, no different than adding dependents or whatever. So I was prepared tonight to make a motion that, well, and I can make the motion, or we can have the discussion, and then we can make the motion. My recommendation would be that the commissioner's salary be a flat $10,000, no per diems, no health insurance, and that the chairman be paid $12,000, no insurance, no per diems.
Cheryl and then Bob, what do you think?
Well, I guess my concern is that, as in all things in life and as in all groups that you belong to, there are people who do more than other people, and that's just the nature of groups. And I don't think that we should be compensated the same if we don't all do the same level of work. And I'm defining work by how many committees you serve on, how many ad hocs you serve on, how many townships you regularly service, etc. There needs to be recognition that different commissioners serve at a different level. And if you are going to 2 meetings a month, you shouldn't be compensated the same as someone who's going to 2 meetings, serves on 3 committees, serves on 3 ad hocs, serves 2 townships, and has, 12 meetings a month that they're going to. I mean, it's not, and it's not like it's, it is optional. You could say, I'm going to just attend the 2 meetings, don't put me on any committees, I won't do any of that work. But there's a lot of work that has to be done. And so I guess the alternative would be, if you want to pay a flat salary, everybody has to have the same amount of committee work. Everybody would have to serve on the same number of committees. Everyone would have to serve on the same number of ad hocs. Everyone would be mandated to give that level of service. And then I'm okay with everybody getting paid the same. But this is still a democracy, and I think in a democracy you should be compensated for your efforts as opposed to simply getting the pay for showing up. And I do think that the health insurance should be an option. Frankly, my recommendation would be that I would like to have Dean take a look at, again, I've asked for this a couple of times, but I'll ask again, our buyout policy for health insurance is ridiculous. There's nobody in the state who's doing buyout the way we're doing it. Most people are doing 50% of the cost. And as long as I'm asking him to look at that, I'd like him to look at equity for our employees with regard to their benefits. A single person getting health insurance does not receive the same level of benefit as a married person. The married person is getting a significantly greater benefit through their health insurance. And there needs to be a menu option or something to provide equity, to provide parity, based on what's being received.
We'll go with Bob and then Tom.
Yeah, I like the flat rate. Again, my thought is, coming into this job, what the requirements are. Here's what you're going to get paid. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. It all works out. There was a lot of meetings, I didn't even send in any forms to do a per diem. So, it is something to me that I think it's just not worth all the hassle of the per diem and mileage, and just say, look, let's just have a flat rate and do this. Now, if you want to come out and have everybody do X amount of meetings, and that's for a later date to decide, I think, but I just think that I like Sonny's idea on that. I didn't use the health care either. I think it is kind of something that probably the commission doesn't need.
Tom, and then we'll go back to Dan.
Well, just to clarify to the public, currently, health insurance is being offered, but the employee or the elected official has to pay for it out of their own money because you have no paycheck, for example, to deduct it from. So you have to fund your own plan. You have to pay twice a month, and that's what's covering it. But you do have the benefit of buying it in a plan, so it's cheaper perhaps than if you went outside and bought your own insurance, even if it was through the marketplace. I think that if there is a per diem, that we could also have a cap for each commissioner on total earnings, whatever source that is. Because I think in the past, I don't know, 2016, but that or before, I think there was at least a couple commissioners that were probably being paid over $20,000. Maybe, no, not 20? No, you sure?
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
Not with per diem and salary and everything? Okay.
No.
Yeah, well, there was a figure, whatever that figure was, and it would be higher than $10,000 or $11,000. That's for sure. So basically, it used to get ranked in the media as to, who was claiming the most per diems, and that sort of set the scale as to who was receiving the most money from the county, and that definitely brought a lot of controversy with it, because depending on who was at the top, it was just noticeable that that person was at the top and not somewhere else on the list. But if you're going to decide based on filing for election in April, it sort of politicizes this decision, and I'm not sure how I feel about making it before or after April, because I would hope, just like myself, that I knew I wasn't going to get paid because of the previous board's decision, the majority of it, and that, when you run for office, that it shouldn't necessarily cause you to decide to turn the switch on or off, how much you're getting paid, because it doesn't really represent a part-time job or a full-time job. In fact, there's a lot of sacrifice put in. If you're somebody like myself who has a wife who's disabled, I have sacrificed a great deal, and that just makes it sound like it's personal, but I really think we need to look at it as a whole board. I think we need to have a figure like you would when you were assembling a budget, and the budget could be, let's say $100,000 or something. I'm sure that the previous commission budget approached something like that. Instead of looking at it like on an individual basis, why don't you look at it as like, what does it really cost to operate the commission, down to, taxes that have to be taken because there's an employer involved, and whatever you decide to choose as your benefits, you set an amount, and if there's a cap, then you know how much the budget's going to be, because nobody's going to exceed that. So that would be the top amount, and chances are, because not everybody would come up with the same amount of money that they'd receive throughout the year, you would be below budget every year for the cost of running the commission. So that takes some work to come up with a figure, from that direction, instead of saying, how much a commissioner gets, how much the chair gets, and whether or not you get per diem, because you could actually know exactly how much you're going to spend in advance from 1 year to the next, 3 years in advance. It's a nice idea even. It wouldn't be an unknown if you look at it that way. And I kind of agree with Cheryl that a per diem does come into effect. Like if I wanted to go to more and more meetings, I'd get more and more per diem, and if I exceeded everybody in going to meetings, then I would be on top of the per diem list. I think that's kind of sad that anybody's on the top of any list for that, and that's why I think there should be a cap, because then nobody would actually go over the cap. Just like we were sort of deciding a cap possibly for travel and conferences and things like that. We were trying to set a budget as to what we were going to spend as a board, and we knew that we weren't going to spend over a certain amount. Well, but if we have per diem or anything that's unknown, that you can't calculate in advance and not have a cap, then we wouldn't really know how much we were going to spend in any given year if we approach it that way.
Let's go with Dan and then Ron.
Okay. I remember when I voted to do the dollar thing, the reason I did it was I knew that we were going to be asking employees to do the increased pay and insurance and stuff and other challenges, and I wanted to set an example, because many times when you're sitting here, I know you all remember it, that people in the audience would say to you, well, why don't you decrease your salary? If you're going to decrease this program, decrease your salary first. So I felt like it was an unselfish, good thing to do, and I regret that decision, because I don't think it had the net effect that I thought it was going to have with the community. It might even have the opposite effect. So I think that we should look back at what it was and get to those levels, however we do it. You know, I think that in those days we had insurance, all the other county employees have that option. So I'm thinking that we should find a level at what it was and restore that level, however we do it, whether it's per diems or salaries or insurance.
I would support that.
Pardon?
I would support that, and that was actually something Bob suggested at one of our last meetings, was to simply restore
The old way,
the old way.
including insurance.
Ron, did you have a comment?
I look at this board and the last two boards, and there's no, I'll say young people, 30 and 40-year-olds.
What?
I know.
Excuse me.
Very few in their 40s.
I'm still in my
have been on the
40s for
board.
about 2 more weeks.
Okay. And and I believe it's because it's darn tough for a young family, the other spouse working nights, needing a babysitter. Somehow, if we could provide more opportunity for a younger board member, I mean, it'd be like rewarding them for being young, but we need to get younger people on this board. They probably aren't able to make the meetings in the daytime because we have more flexible schedules. Somehow, it would be nice to be able to accommodate that. Sonny, you were on the board when you were
I was going to
young.
say, I'd like to remind you that I was young when I came
Right.
to this board.
And you also had a company that they allowed you to be able to get here.
I have a lot of flexibility in that I own my own
Right,
business,
and
absolutely.
it's, so we're, you know, I'm sure that there's young people out there, but they're not able to sit on this board because they don't have the flexibility. Their flexibility would be losing their job if they, you know, got off at 9 o'clock to go to a meeting in the morning. But I think along with looking at the salaries, we should be looking at how we can accommodate younger people to be on this board.
Sonny and then Bob.
I guess the one thing, you know, and we can always get into the discussions about meetings we attend and which ones are important, which ones aren't, and back and forth. But I think the one thing that we have to remember, that we represent 7 districts. Each one of us represent about 13,500 registered voters in Grand Traverse County. You know, so our representation is exactly the same. How we go about representing that is different with each individual who sits in this chair. You know, the person that sits in this chair next year may have a different idea. But the bottom line is, we are here to represent first and foremost those 13,500 voters that each one of us represents. You know, so that's why, you know, in my mind, the idea of having the flat rate, eliminating the per diems is just a lot less hassle.
Cheryl.
I would move that we reinstate the salary that was in place in 2016, including the, what was it, $7,000 for commissioners?
It was $7,000 for
$7,500 for
the vice chair?
vice chair, $8,000 for chair.
$35
per
a
diems,
meeting.
$35 for half-days.
Well, it's $35 a meeting,
Okay.
$70 for a whole day of a conference, and there was no cap as to how many meetings in a
And
day.
health insurance. In other words, reinstate what was in place before it was
I'll
voted.
second that.
Okay. Moved by Commissioner Gorfulet, supported by Commissioner Lathrop.
Bonnie, you have that? You have that?
I do.
Bob.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what Sonny's proposed as far as the 12 and 10 is pretty much the average. I mean, I completely disagree with you as to how much, I think maybe one person pushed 13,000.
Okay.
It was nowhere near 20,000.
When you take off the $2,000 for the health insurance, because they add that onto your W-2, it was about I made about 13 in 2016.
But also, you don't get paid for every meeting you go to. You know, if you want to just go sit in on a meeting, you don't
No.
get per diem.
It has to be a meeting that you are required to
You know,
attend.
I still, even though I agree we got to get compensated, I still think, I like the $10,000 to $12,000. Number one, it gets you up there, and again, it's less hassle. But
Chairman Crawford?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Just the last per diem policy that the board had in place limited per diem per day to $90. You did have the 35,
We changed that.
okay?
We eliminated the cap. I believe it was in 16.
No, we talked about doing it, but I don't think we ever
I
did.
thought we eliminated the
we
cap.
eliminated, because before it was
You're
two
right.
meetings, right?
You may
I
be
thought
right.
we.
It was a maximum
It
of
was-
$90.
The point is, we
Yeah.
should really define or determine what that per diem was set at. And I believe you're correct, you did.
We did remove the cap of $90. So if
So
you
it could be
attended
more than
four,
that?
if you
Well, if you had
attended
3
4 meetings
meetings
in
in
a
a
day, you could get 4 times 35. And I remember the meeting where we did that because I had a full-time job and specifically tried to stack meetings all in one day, so I would only have to take one whole day off to do it. Yes. Bob.
And to tag into that about getting younger individuals, you know, especially with families. I mean, that's, you know, I'm no young spring chicken either, but my wife's basically tired of me not being at home. So it is tough. You know, she might not like that when I'm home more, but, you know, it's a whole different issue. But it is tough, and, you know, for my district, it's 6 townships and villages. So you can't even make all the meetings because they're some of the same nights as we have other things. But that is tough on younger families to give that time up. I think that's kind of why some of the older individuals do, because they do have more flexibility as they get into their careers and whatnot. But I would definitely love to see younger people and figure out how to get that in here.
So as a younger person with a family, I will agree, it's not easy. It's not easy. There are times when I don't see my kids very often at all. So I'm glad to do it, and I do like my job, but I will say it is tough. It is. Yes, Cheryl?
Well, just in defense of those of us who aren't 30 or 40, you know, I served on the college board for 22 years, and I was fortunate for the first 17, 18 years of that time to work with a lady named Shirley Okerstrom,
Oh, my gosh.
who was a wonderful
Yeah.
lady, and she had the distinction of being the only woman on that board for about the first 20 years it was in existence. But Shirley had this wonderful saying that I've always loved, and it was, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And it doesn't matter if you're 30, if you're 60, if you're 90, we all have the same 24 hours, and it's of value no matter what your age is. And just because I don't have little kids at home anymore, I don't get to be with my grandkids when I'm here. Just because I don't, you know, have the things that I was doing when I was 35 doesn't mean that I'm not giving up a lot to be here. And so I think every person sitting here gives up a lot to be here. I think what we're talking about is a token, okay? A token to give it the standing it deserves, which is, it is a job. It does deserve to be recognized. And I'd like to call a question.
Just a quick, Gene, do you know, the figures that you gave us, the 96,000 or 9,600, whatever, 9,600.
Yeah.
Did those include per diems?
No.
Or per diems were over and above that?
Per diems were over and above that. And
Not all the counties had that, right?
But
Some do and
that's,
some
I
don't.
did not, we called the counties to identify, do they have health and retirement? We did not ask the question about per diem. So I cannot tell you if they have it or if they don't have it.
And it varies. Some have 1 meeting a month, some have 2, some have 4. So
Well,
it just,
that's why I asked to use the Grand Traverse County 2016 numbers, because these commissioners had basically the same number of meetings those of us sitting here would have.
okay. So the motion is to put it back to the 2016 level, and that was seconded. So we're going to go ahead and vote on that. Should we
Roll call?
do a roll call vote, Bonnie, please?
Was there a motion before that got a second?
No, Dan pulled that back so we could discuss
Yeah.
first.
I was made to pull it back.
I asked nicely. Bonnie, roll call vote, please.
Mayor? Sorry, Mayor?
Wasn't ready.
That's pretty
Long,
funny.
So it's going back to the 2016
2016 compensation
Whatever it
package.
was in that time, and we'll clarify that, and yes or no?
Can you answer a question first? The only thing that bothers me about this, and I know I'm supposed to vote, not comment, but you
It's
can
okay.
ask me if I should abstain perhaps, is that I don't think it should happen before people have to file in April, because I think it's lending itself to being political by doing that. Is that something I should abstain from voting on? Because
I don't think it's grounds to abstain, but I think the point of that discussion is people that are going to file to run for this position should have an idea what the level of compensation is
Really,
going
it
to
should,
be.
in all fairness.
It's only fair.
I think so.
We knew that they
We
were
knew,
going to
we
pay
knew it was
me.
$1. We did. So now we need to vote.
Okay. I'll say yes, then.
Gore Follett?
Yes.
Wheelock?
No.
Klaus?
Yes.
Johnson?
No.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes. That was
Pass.
5-2, right? Okay, thank you. So that's what it will be. All right, very good. All right, now we have, do we want to take, the next two things are going to take, I think, some time, more time. Can we take 5 minutes?
I mean, they
Let's
take
please
5
do.
minutes. for-
Oh, I
we-
was
can
going
we-
to say they'll take 5 minutes, won't they?
Yeah.
No, can we have a, we're going to take,
We're going to take 5?
we're going to take 5. We're going to take a little recess. Usually I do that at 7:30, so we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
How long, Carol?
Reconvene. Okay. Thank you. We are going to move on. We have an update on the interim administrator activities, that is on our desk.
It is on your desk, and I highlighted a couple of items that I wanted to make sure you probably didn't know them, but you are now today. On the Lafreniere building, we are restructuring that and moving veterans over to where the soil erosion office was, and that was specifically so they can be accredited. When they meet with the veteran, they need closed offices, and this will also allow them to be in one place in the building instead of separate locations as well. That allowed us to free up the space that veterans was currently in and allow environmental health to move over because they're right next door, and they are hiring 2 new sanitarians for soil erosion, and also allows the animal control to be in that section, as well as moving the drain commissioner over to that location as well. City is utilizing where the drain commissioner is now, so we have to move the drain commissioner, and that seemed the logical spot, is back over at the Lafreniere building. So that is all being worked with an architect. Ray Kendra is doing the RFP for construction because there will be walls moved, and that will be coming out of the veterans budget and health department budget as well.
Any questions on that part,
And
Bob?
the veterans had set aside money last year to do this. So
Some renovations. Okay.
I know Michael Roof said that there was there's set aside dollars.
I just was curious how much space was being designated for the drain commissioner, because I know that he doesn't actually spend a lot of time in his office.
It's just it's an office. So as you go into, I put as an attachment, the attachment is the public services building. So where it would be office 062, yes, 062 would be where the drain commissioner would be. They would close off that door and then have
Okay, help me out here. Left, right, center,
06.
a lot of numbers.
It's almost exactly in the center.
What's the dimensions of the office?
I don't know.
Got it. So it's where the VA used to be?
Yes, it's one of the offices where the VA used to be.
Okay,
And
great.
then in the middle would be animal control, and then Dan's office would be right next to it, 131.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And again, so I'm clear, the animal control, this is a temporary placement because we're still looking at a standalone, independent space for them?
Yes, so after that, I just highlighted animal control, that is where we want to staff up. We have 3 positions that are there. They're due, the animal control officers are due on this Friday, and then the next Friday will be the animal control supervisor. The applications are due. Environmental health will staff that up and then transition to a standalone, but bring that back to this board when it's ready, because we want to make sure that it transitions and can go over smoothly. So it's a transition. And then also the last piece is the child care center at the lower level of the governmental center. There's a report that is attached to that. It's pretty detailed on that. We being the county EDC and administration and city administration looked at the possibility of the lower level of the governmental center as possibly a tech incubator at one time and a child care center. And they did the report. We moved that over to the city to take the lead and to complete the studies, meet with Department of Human Services. What do you need to do the work there? And the report's in your packet, and that'll be brought back to you on February 21st for consideration.
That's very exciting. Very exciting. Great work.
Yeah, the city took the lead on this, so they did a nice job of the report itself. But And then the last thing I wanted to update you on is the custodial facilities, so you know that we're still working on that. The county board in November approved a one-year contract for $449,000, and that contract was for us to do an analysis with the departments on what needs to be done. Is it being done? Can we do something different? So that survey will be going out the end of this week or the first part of next week, and we'll work in coordination with the new facilities director, if approved by this board next week, on the results of that survey and how we work, and bring back a recommendation to you in April, no later than May, to allow us to know which way we are going. Are we going to continue with the contract, so we have to go out for an RFP, or are we looking at recommending new hires so we can do a different kind of service for the buildings itself?
Do you have a question?
Did we hire a facilities person?
Not yet. That's
No,
coming next week to us, and we'll talk about that in a couple minutes.
Okay.
Anything else?
Is there anything else, Steve?
We're gonna miss you, Gene.
You're going to be in good hands, which kind of tails right into...
Yeah. But it takes three
Yes,
people to replace you.
It does. Let's flow right into the admin structure conversation. That was a good segue.
You have an opinion that I sent out to you Monday afternoon from Scott Howard that did an overview of how we are recommending the structure, being Chris Forsyth, Nate Elger, and for the budget would be Dean Bott. And he can go through that opinion if you'd like and answer any questions, but it was very important for the individuals that are stepping up to help the board, being Chris and Nate and Dean, to make sure that it was, there's no conflict, there's no incompatibility of office, and there's no issue whatsoever. It's important that it move, that there's no concern at all. And this really has identified that there is no concern. And I think Scott can answer that, as well as Chris. He didn't just depend on this legal counsel or legal opinion. He went like 2 steps again.
What I did, in addition to us reaching out to Scott and asking for an opinion, because I'm a lawyer, I'm bound by the rules of professional conduct, and I'm a member of the State Bar. So the State Bar has staff attorneys who are able to answer ethics questions. So I posed the question to them whether me being civil counsel as well as being administrator or having administrative duties poses any ethics problems. And the answer was no, unless there's a situation where my serving as civil counsel and administrator would create a conflict, would limit my ability to represent the client, meaning the Board of Commissioners. And really that ties into Scott's analysis, where we're fine, Nate and I are fine taking on these responsibilities as long as we don't get into the budget process or the purchasing process of our departments. That's what creates a conflict. I also want to let you know, after we got Scott's opinion, I talked to 2 attorneys with Miller Canfield. Miller Canfield, I've worked with them. I work with them as a member of the government law section for the State Bar. I know them. And they are the biggest municipal law firm in the state. So I had a conversation with them. I advised them of Scott's memo. And they agreed. They agreed with the analysis that Scott did in his memo. I also want to just add one more thing. There may be situations where I may have to go to Bob Cooney and say, I can't give a legal opinion here for this issue. You're going to have to do it, or we're going to have to go to outside counsel. I just want to bring that to your attention, because if I'm doing an administrative type function, I can't turn around and put on my lawyer hat and then bless what I'm doing. I mean, just common sense, that just doesn't sound right. So we want it to be very upfront, very transparent, really do our due diligence and do this right and do this lawful. And so that's why we took the extra time and did the analysis that we did.
I have a question. The resolution here indicates that it would be co-administrators. Does one need to be designated as a signatory, or does everything that needs signature go to the chair? How does that work?
No, you're referring to it in the whereas, correct? You're looking at.
Yes, it always says co-administrators.
So if you look at though the resolution.
Yeah.
So the whereas, and I'm sorry, I drafted this and I didn't want to create confusion, but I wanted to be an accurate record.
Okay.
So the discussion at the study session was, we serve as co-administrators. I think Scott, in his opinion, is such that we wanted to avoid that. We wanted to say, I'm still deputy civil counsel, Nate is under sheriff, but then we're taking on these additional responsibilities that are listed on the back, which really is not an all-inclusive list. It's more of a guide. And I certainly think, and Nate probably agrees with this, our responsibilities are going to overlap and we're going to work together. But we don't, because the administrator traditionally oversees the budget. So oversees the budget of not just, the Board of Commissioners and the county departments, but oversees the budget of the elected officials, so Bob Cooney and the sheriff. We wanted to avoid just using that term of co-administrators. Instead, we are who we are, we have our still positions, but we're stepping in and we're taking on more responsibilities.
Okay.
So I hope that makes sense.
It makes sense, except I sign a whole lot of things that say county administrator, that need a signature from the county administrator. So my...
Did you just say interim or acting or something on that? Or?
Do you put co in front of administrator, or does that all just automatically become the board chair that signs
Well, I think.
things, and I can't do that?
Why can't they all three sign?
Well, that's true.
I think
They could both
I think
sign.
that's up to the Board of Commissioners. We could hereby authorize either,
We could say it could be
we
either
could say
Nate
either Nate
Chris.
or Chris could sign on behalf of the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners as our administrator.
Yeah.
Okay.
By direction.
Does that make sense?
I think that will work. I mean, I think that's something we could run by Scott, make sure that's lawful, and then maybe come back to the board.
He didn't have anything to do tonight, so he came anyway, so.
It doesn't happen that often. Usually it's, it doesn't happen all that often.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot of stuff that just.
There are stuff.
It'll come in and the form letter will be signed by the county administrator and board chairman or whoever the situation is. And I believe, Scott's going to tell us, but I believe we can authorize either one to sign on behalf of the Board of Commissioners as our administrator.
Hold that thought, Tom. Let's hear from Scott.
Sunny is correct. You do need to make that authorization, but once you do, either Chris or Nate can sign as the agent of the county, or the chairperson can sign if it's appropriate as well.
Okay.
But it really is just, the important thing is that you do authorize these two with the agency to sign on behalf of the county. Once you've done that, it doesn't have to be one person or the other. And again, they can sign as authorized agent rather than county administrator or acting county administrator.
So that's just a motion and a vote.
That's correct.
Okay. What other questions do we have, Cheryl?
So pragmatically,
Sorry,
how
Tom.
does this work? I mean, you both are still going to keep doing your jobs, or you're taking leaves from your jobs, or, how does this work? Because you both have jobs, so.
Right. I can't speak on behalf of Nate, but I can tell you that I wear two hats, civil counsel and assistant prosecutor. The assistant prosecutor hat, I'm going to have to really limit those responsibilities. And a lot of that work, I've met with Bob, we've had a discussion, and a lot of that work is going to be reassigned. And there may become a point where I'm not doing any court work as an assistant prosecutor. I think, though, being civil counsel and these additional administrative duties, I think it's going to work. And I think it's going to work fine. So I'm quite comfortable, doing the extra work.
I don't have a problem with what you're doing. I'm just trying to wrap my head around how you're going to do it, because I know, like
From Nate, too?
Nate goes running off to disaster scenes, or Nate has to, do trainings, or,
Let's hear from
whatever.
Nate.
I'm just saying, okay? And maybe it's his day to wear the chief hat, and instead he's got to be out doing his other job.
Yes, thank you. Nate Elger, Undersheriff. You're correct, Commissioner. We do have extensive responsibilities outside of this. However, the sheriff and the prosecutor have offered this up, and me personally, I work with a very great team of individuals that supports this concept. They want to be helpful to the county and have agreed to step in and take some of my duties in my absence. Short answer, you increase the pace of play, if you understand that, and we're going to have to work longer, we're going to have to work faster and harder, but I think as a sheriff's office staff, we can make that work. My job does not have a timeline. I don't get to go home at 4 o'clock and turn off my phone. So my accessibility to the sheriff in my office and the community will remain as is.
Thank you.
Bob?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also important to recognize that, Mr. Cooney and the sheriff, what they've done to allow this to happen, because that's a great task and a load that they're having to put on other people. But I think it's a wonderful opportunity for you gentlemen to step up, because you're greatly respected here in this community, and it also gives time, I think, to look and get this transition period a heck of a lot easier than we could have been. I think that the other option of hiring someone that has done it before was just too cumbersome, and I don't think it would have been effective. So
No.
I salute both of you for doing it, and for Dean for stepping up too. He'll have some additional duties, I'm sure.
Dan?
This is an exciting time. I'm really excited about these three guys. They're top-notch. Trust them. I'm thankful for them because they're giving us the time to take the time to pick the really right person to be the administrator for this county. So it's outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I've passed over Tom a couple times. I'm really sorry. And then
Okay.
Sunny.
I'd like to specifically thank Mr. Howard for the advice and being here for a long meeting. But as I look at the contract, one of the things that I always look for in a contract is time or term. And I'm wondering, if we should have something in there about how long we would operate this way. I also think that it's indirectly or directly related to our GovHR search, and I think we need to think about this term, how long we would operate like this, as compared to how long we would go on the longest side to go through our search process and replace our administrator, because it just can't go on indefinitely. And this contract, or this agreement, doesn't really specify any time, I don't think.
Well, it says until such time as a new
administrator
is hired and begins their work. So I assume that as that new person begins, these guys would step right back into their former lives.
And it is temporary.
But
I don't think it will go
realistically,
into budget season at all.
Realistically, these gentlemen can't do this indefinitely, and
Well, no, but realistically,
No.
it's not going to be indefinite that we're going to be searching for an
Well,
administrator
that's why we
either.
made the move last
Yes.
week to
Yes.
Move it
forward.
along.
Correct.
Yeah.
Dan?
I think we can excuse me, we can always change it, right? We don't have to put a date on it. We could,
Oh.
if we thought we hate these guys, we could change it. So,
Turn right like that.
And Nate's going to walk
You might
off
get
the mic and just walk away.
I'm kidding.
I
I'm
know
kidding.
you are.
No, I mean, I don't know why I do understand your your concern, but I think in this case, we have the power to change it, and we could. So I kind of like leaving it open-ended so that, we all know that we don't want to rush. On the other hand, they don't have forever.
You don't.
So,
I think if the administrator search lasted maybe longer than we thought, we might have to change it at some point.
Well, it
But I
works for
think
them, too.
It works for them.
Because of the way
Yeah.
that it's written, if they decide they don't like the game, they can walk away,
Figure
too.
out something
So-
else.
it's exciting. Yeah, I like it.
Sonny, are you as excited as Dan?
This is
I'm not
Sunny
sure
excited.
excited
Just
is
trying
the-
to- a little
I'm not
levity.
sure excited is
It's
the
like-
right
This is
word.
Sunny excited.
Okay.
I would much prefer not to be in this situation in the first place. but-
I know.
but
It is
this
what it
where
is.
we are.
It is.
One of the things that always seems to come up when you talk about these things is, what does it cost?
Oh, well,
You
it
know,
was down here.
And, I've had a lot of people ask me about that, and I see in this resolution, it talks about these
one.
additional responsibilities is in one, step one, but that doesn't tell me a damn thing, So I'm guessing that we've got a dollar amount,
We do.
and I'm assuming that we're splitting it between the two, or, I guess I need to know some idea what that is.
How has that worked out, Jean?
Well, at this point, we would take we would move them up to the N1, both at
Both of them.
N1, and take it from what they're currently getting paid and just pay the difference.
Okay, so
between the two.
we're actually going to move Chris's civil counsel and Nate's undersheriff salaries to in one, say, step one, but I still would like to know how many dollars that is.
The difference in, between N1 and what it'd be $20,662 for Mr. Elger and $11,495 for Mr. Forsyth.
In what period of time?
That would be,
That's an annual,
For the
that's an
annual.
annual salary.
Yeah, annualized.
Doesn't sound so
Good
good now,
deal.
does it, Nate?
It's a good deal.
So this is the difference between what they're currently being paid.
Yes.
correct.
Okay. Did you have something else?
Just to Mr. Mayor's comment, we have talked over the last 3 weeks now about the transition in and out of Jean, and Chris and I have worked with Mr. Renzi and Mr. Bott now since the 23rd, 24th of January, trying to catch up with what she knows. I can tell you it's pretty incredible what she does, and the amount of things that she touches on a daily basis. And one of the concepts we have is it would be nice to have a transition team for the new administrator. So if you end up appreciating this relationship later on down the line, I would recommend that we consider that as well, that when the new administrator comes here, we can have a transition period defined by the board, so that administrator isn't caught cold.
That's a
Yeah, I
great
don't want
idea.
them to just,
Yeah.
the very day the new administrator starts, that they just go
you're
back
it.
to their, yeah.
Oh, by the way, it's budget time.
Yeah, and just,
Which
yeah.
goes back to
yeah.
having some kind of a timeline that we want to stick to, because I don't want the search to go on forever.
Well, it won't.
We have a timeline, though.
We have a
already
timeline. I think the timeline we were given by James was hopefully by the end of May. So it's just a few months, and then hopefully a couple weeks into June, we would have, as it gets closer to the time and we know the start date, then we would come up with a new timeline with the transition team.
Yeah, I guess June is good. I think May's kind of sooner than I would expect, but
We have to see how things shake out.
But in conversations that I've had during the day, July 1st is sort of like, I would say, I don't want to go past that.
But we can't control it.
Yeah, we can't control who we get, when they can show up, and things like that, so
We got to
we'll
pick
have to
a
see.
good
We gotta get a
person.
person.
Yeah.
Really, really
Gotta
good
get
person.
the applications first.
Yes, Dan, yes.
I just want to say what a good deal, because if Chris was going to charge us lawyer prices, it'd be a lot more than that.
For all the extra hours,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so we have two things that we need to do then. So we have this resolution, and we also would need to go ahead and say that each one of them can sign on behalf of the county.
So moved.
So we got to do it separately.
Yeah.
I will support the motion to name these interim county administrator plan.
Oh, do you,
Scott, did you want to add
No,
something?
you're fine. You can do it either add to the resolution or just do a separate
Let's
motion.
just add it to the,
Or let's just do it
Just
separate.
add
let's
it.
just do a separate motion.
Okay,
'cause then yeah, it's,
I already made the motion, he seconded it.
for which motion did you make?
To approve
To
the
approve the
resolution.
resolution.
XX 218, where I'm assuming there's
So-
going to be a number assigned.
Moved by Commissioner Gorfulet, supported by Commissioner Wheelock. Any further discussion on that one? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, you guys are it.
Madam
Now,
Chairman, I would move that the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners authorize Chris Forsythe and Nita Elger to sign on our behalf as county administrator.
moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion on that?
Or do you want to say
that okay, Scott?
authorized?
agent?
Change the
I'd
term,
like that
yeah.
to say authorized agent and not county administrator.
Authorized agent on behalf
All
of
right,
the county.
Bonnie will
Okay.
put that however it needs to be, right, Bonnie? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You guys are it.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank
And-
you.
And again, thanks to
Thank you,
Bob
Dean,
and
as
Tom,
well.
because this
Yep.
wouldn't be
Dean's on the list
possible
there,
without
too.
their help.
Yes. Okay. That one's done. All right. Moving on. Consideration of animal control millage. Who wants to start?
I
Jean?
can start the
Thank you.
discussion.
Okay.
And in your packet on page 127 and through 129, I tried to provide an outline for you to start the discussion on an animal control millage. Starting from the ad hoc committee that identified that we want to increase the services for animal control to serve the citizens of Grand Traverse County, and we appropriated $150,000 to allow that for two new animal control, a supervisor, and with that, look at possibly having a millage to be able to offset the general fund and have a standalone, secure animal control office. So what I did is I took the $150,000 and identified that that would be 0.31 mils, which would create $150,000, which equates to $2.49 for a taxable value of a home of $80,000. So I think the other components that I tried to put in there is there was a policy that the county board provided to how you set millages and the process for that too, and I don't have that in front of me, but I think it's in your packet, on when you needed to identify when that millage is, and I think that has to come back by May. But before that is done, my recommendation is that you need to go back to the finance director and the equalization director to provide a full overview for you of what the millage should be. So right now, I just took the 150, but to do a complete analysis of what would a budget be to take out to the voters and what would the ballot proposal be as well. So that's starting the discussion.
Okay. And in addition to that, I think we need some questions answered as far as what does that do with the Headley? And do we have room? Does it affect anything else?
No.
We're good. Okay. Okay. Cheryl?
And I just want to do one more thing is,
Yes, ma'am.
there was a question about the millage. How long does a millage go? And we have varying lengths of millages for Commission on Aging. It's 6 years. For the veterans, it's 5 years. And for the road, it's 3 years. So the average length is from 6 till 3.
Okay. Cheryl?
Okay, so the reason that I suggested that we consider a millage really is because the year before I came on this board, there was a lot of conversation about animal control, to the extent that the board actually got rid of animal control, and then just before I came on, kind of half-heartedly reinstated animal control in a partial way. And then this last year, we spent time trying to figure out how to sustain animal control, how to fund animal control, and then just recently came up with the plan to try and staff animal control and fund it through this year. We were able to fund it, in my opinion, because we had some one-time things that happened with our budget that opened that door to make that palatable. The community has been engaged pretty seriously and pretty vocally about animal control for at least the last year, if not longer. My feeling is that it is time to let the public decide whether or not they want to support animal control. And I know that some of you will disagree. Some of you think that we should just continue to hope that we'll have the funding in the general fund, and maybe we will. But we won't always have this board, and we may not always have the people sitting on the board who would support animal control and who would then decide, well, it's not a mandated service, let's cut it. So once again, the animals and the program would be back out in the street. So my proposal would be that we put together a millage proposal following the evaluation and analysis from our finance people and our tax people, and come up with a number that will fund animal control for at least 3 years. I think 3 years is the low end, but 3 years at the minimum. Give animal control an opportunity to establish themselves and to put a program together, and then they can come back to the voters at that time and see if they should continue. The bottom line is that if we go to a millage election in August, and the voters say, no, we will not support your millage, we don't want to pay any more taxes, I don't care if it's $3, if it's $5, if it's $7. My belief would be that at the end of 2018, we would no longer fund animal control. Because I believe that if the voters see animal control as a necessary service that they want the county to provide, they need to be willing to support it, just like they support the veterans, like they support the Commission on Aging, like they support Beta. Those are all services that they have voted to tax themselves because they value them. And many of them have said that they value animal control. We found the money after great struggle, but it's more than the money, it's the configuration of the board. Because without 4 people who support animal control, it can be voted out in January to get a new board in. They may say, we don't want animal control. They need certainty in order to be successful, and I think the only certainty can be through a millage. And so I'm asking you to put it on the ballot and let the voters decide.
Bob?
I completely disagree.
I'm so surprised.
I know you're surprised. Part of what we're elected to do is to make some of these tough decisions. I have not had one person that has talked to me, other than that small core group of animal people that are really hot about this. No one else has talked to me or has said that they would vote for this whatsoever. It's not that prominent in most people's minds. I just do not, we voted, again, I think it was 4-3, to reinstate it, and to me, it should have stood on its own merits for sustainability. I see what you're doing is saying, well, I possibly have 4 votes here now, so let's do it now, when, the mood of the board or you could have different members come in and then completely go against it. But I'm not going to support it. I don't think the voters would support it whatsoever.
So what we actually would be, I don't know that we would even vote tonight, but what we would be voting on is just putting it on the ballot.
Yep.
Right, okay. Yes, Dan?
I agree with Bob. I think, when a person says, well, it's only funded for a year, well, that's true of every department in the county. We don't fund we have yearly budgets. We have 30 departments, I think, in this county or something like that. They could all use a millage. I want to point out to the public, I was the first one to say, let's restore it to the what it was before. And I retracted that motion because we want to consider more input. And then we came back and we're funding it around $280,000. That's a lot more than we used to. And I like the idea that the county is funding this by becoming more efficient and effective. I'd rather see that than raise taxes on people. We have some other big things coming ahead. Here we've got a jail that we're going to have to fund. And I just don't think that I want to ask my voters to pay more taxes. I think we've handled this in the past. I think we've offered them a generous offer. They're a lot better off now than they were a year ago. Let's see what happens.
Ron?
I did have 3 different calls this week regarding the animal control, and those folks did not want a millage. But one thing I wanted to bring up with animal control, going in that the building up on Lafreniere, having their own space, being their own department, what's their, we didn't, I don't know that we figured in when we provided the funding for 3 people, there will be actually rent that they'll have to pay, like all of the other departments up there.
Right, that's part of the budget that we had, we put together.
That was in that?
Part of the 285, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But, yeah, I would not support a millage.
Sonny?
You know, I've gotten emails and phone calls both ways on this project, on this particular issue. One of the concerns that I've always had, and back when I was with the township even, when you put something on the ballot, what are you prepared to do if the people say no? Because, you always get into that thing, well, we're going to have to find a way to pay for at least some of it. But what are you prepared to do if they say no? Animal control was eliminated altogether, and then it was determined somewhere along the way that we had to have some level of that. I don't know that the $150,000 is the right number. I've heard, I still believe this is an enforcement issue, and county code regulations, ordinance, as far as I'm concerned, should be enforced by the sheriff. This is a policing issue. But I know very well from both having conversations with both the sheriff and the undersheriff, there is no way that they can justify any way that they can make it happen for $280,000 a year. It doesn't work. And, so I don't know that the $150,000 is the right number to be using. I have a really hard time asking the voters to vote for additional taxes, knowing very well that I'm going to try very, very hard within the next year or 2 years tops, if I have anything to say about it, to find a way to build a new jail.
Yeah.
We absolutely need that. That's $35 million. That's more than $2.40 a household, folks. So, I'm struggling very hard. I struggled hard last month when we approved the $150,000 of additional money. I'm just struggling very hard with the idea of putting this on the ballot. I'm more inclined to try to figure out some way that we continue at least until we show the program that it's working for the $280,000 to continue to try to find a way in our general fund to do it. I don't know, it's difficult.
Tom, did you have?
Well, one of the things Sonny said I agree with is that we don't know what the outcome would be, and there's risk either way as to whether we could continue with animal control. I support animal control, and I did look at my messages today. Most of them were for the millage, actually. And I don't know many of the people who write me, so I don't know everything about them. But one person wanted to know, and this happens, I looked it up, but there's other places in Michigan that do it, whether anybody would volunteer to license their cat if it wasn't required.
Got that one.
I thought that was cute, bringing up the cats. I'm a dog person, but I think that's important. And, it's also a way to find your animal if it becomes lost when you get a license. Hopefully, you find your animal when it gets lost. But also, for the dogs especially, when you go to your vet to get your Heartgard or your heartworm preventative, or you get your rabies shot every few years, you can buy a license and you can get a discount on your license if you buy it for more than 1 year at a time. And it is a way to possibly find your animal if it becomes lost. So I really encourage people to who haven't been doing that to get a license. And anybody could volunteer to get a license for their cat, since it's not a law here. But raising the amount of money that comes in through licensing could really help out a lot. And I'm a little bit concerned on the risk either way, whether we have a millage or depend on a future board to ensure that animal control continues, because I would hope that it does, and I'm pretty happy that we're where we're at right now. In fact, because it says here, consideration for an August election, that's the primary election, obviously. You'd have to decide by May 15th. I'd prefer not to vote on it tonight so that we can get more input.
Okay. I would just say that I kind of separate the issue from the issue itself of animal control and then the issue of putting it on the ballot. I would support letting the voters decide, and then it would be loud and clear. As I think Bob pointed out, we have this little core group that's very interested and very vocal. I would like to know what the general public thinks about it. So I would support putting it on the ballot at some point to see what the consensus is. So, Bob.
At some point, though, as an elected official, you have to take a stand. And you can't just say, well, we'll let the voters decide. Because if they're going to do that, then why even have us?
You don't let
and
them,
just put everything on the ballot.
I know that. I know that. And my stand would be on this one. I think we need to hear from the general public on this one. As Cheryl said, we have talked about this over and over and over, almost ad nauseum. And I think it's time for the public to speak on it. Dan?
If I were to ask Sonny, should we put it on the ballot for a millage for the prison, I'll bet you'd say you don't want to do that. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
So, if you ask me if we should put it on the ballot?
What I'm saying is, when you look at some things, like the jail, we may decide to do a bond and not put it on the ballot, and there's going to be reasons for that. Okay? If, for instance, if this board ever decides to bond out the pension debt, which I hope they don't.
I think we fixed that.
I would say to you guys, let's put it on the ballot. I'll bet you'd all say, oh no, because I know if I put it on the ballot, it ain't passing. So I think this is the kind of thing that I think I want to resist it at the basic level. I don't want it to go to the ballot because I want to represent my constituents. And there's been no support in my constituency in District 1 for this at all. So I really can't in good conscience support it.
So what are we going to do, Cheryl?
Well, I guess, I'm just curious to know how you communicate with your 13,000 constituents, because I've heard from dozens of people on this issue, and not just the people who come to this meeting. I've heard literally from dozens and dozens of people in church, people I see on the street, people that I meet through my practice. I mean, this is an issue that,
Cheryl,
these aren't people that I hang out with.
I haven't.
Well,
I haven't. I've heard the opposite,
but
so.
you've heard the exact opposite from dozens of people.
Not dozens.
Two or three?
But the fact that there's not dozens of people coming from my district supporting it means something.
Well, I guess, I find it disheartening that we would presume to substitute our judgment for the electorate. And
That's what we're hired to do.
well, it's what you're hired to do, but, you don't always get it right either. Maybe we should hear from the people who are here tonight who might want to speak on it.
I can do that. We'll hear from Bob, and then we're going to...
That's what the ballot box is for, that's right, which is why I want to take it to a vote, Dan. That's the ballot box.
We're going to hear from Bob, and then I'm going to open it up.
I got 4 emails on this in support of it. 4. I mean, when we had the clock tower thing, we were getting inundated.
We were.
I know before, when they wanted to reinstate it, they were flooding the emails with it, but
Yeah, but
4 emails.
That isn't the only way that I get communicated with, is through the
Me
county
either,
website.
but everybody I've talked, that's the only people that supported it,
I see.
that I've talked to,
Okay,
is that 4 emails. Everybody else that has talked to me is not in favor of it,
okay,
so.
all right.
And we, to me, on a lot of these issues, I assume if I don't hear on something, then I assume people are not wanting to do it.
So if it went to a vote and it failed, for you, would that be a win or a lose?
No,
Would it be a win or a lose? Because if it failed, we would discontinue animal control.
I wouldn't want
but you
that.
set up animal control right now to fail. You've already set it up at that budget level, knowing that you're almost are gonna have to have this millage.
Actually, we funded it for the staffing that we felt.
No, I mean for continuing it.
We set it up to fail?
I think so. I mean, if you think you have to go to the millage now, then you have set it up to fail. If you think that's the only way this is going to continue into 2019.
I just said, I'm not proposing that we go forward on the millage for the funding. I'm proposing we go forward with the millage for continuity, so that the next board that comes in here doesn't decide that it's no longer mandated, and therefore they don't like it, they want to get rid of it.
Okay. I'm going to let the public speak on this one. Is there anyone who would like to talk about this? Deb?
I didn't plan on talking about it.
That's okay. Nobody ever does, I don't think.
I don't think you ever do, do you?
But, go ahead.
I'm Deb Zarafa, Williamsburg, Michigan, and I am astounded that the two doctors on the board do not understand the sanctity of life and that we are overseers of animals. You know, there's a book that I really, really like. It starts with Genesis. And there was a creation, I don't care what you believe, but Adam had oversight over the animals. And he named every one of them. And I feel that my calling is to speak for the animals that don't have a voice. And you'll never stop hearing mine. Not because I think that I'm somebody that needs to speak for them. I mean, I'm anybody any different than any of you. But I've learned in the last couple of years that each animal, you look into their eyes and they have something to say to you. You can continue to ignore that, or you can let the voters decide if they want to finance this animal care and control program that I have worked really hard to put together with help of some of the commissioners, some of my staff members, a great deal of the general public. I can assure you that I got about 30 phone calls yesterday. I got 42 last Thursday. And I would be glad to share with you each and every conversation that I've had with people that are thrilled to death that I take the time, that I talk to them, that I work with them, that I take care of animals, that I care about not only animal advocacy, I care about public health and safety for the community. We have dogs at large biting routinely. We have dogs that need to be quarantined. We have dogs that are running around and procreating millions of other dogs and cats. This is not needs to be a mandated service. This is a necessary service that every community needs, whether you believe it or not. Let the voters decide, because I'll tell you what, I have dozens and dozens and dozens every single solitary day. I don't vote for all what you guys want. I'm the most fiscally responsible person in my home, my property taxes, and everything else. And I will tell you that I will vote for animal control, whether I was in this position, out of this position, in a trailer, on a mansion, on the bluffs, whatever. Animal control is needed, and if you want to turn a blind eye to all those animals out there, they're living and breathing with a heart like you, and they need us to speak for them, and I'm not going to stop. So whatever you guys do, you do, but I'm not stopping.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to talk on this one? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Isba. I'm with Pet Friends Magazine. I live on Spring Hill Road in Garfield Township, and I'm also a precinct delegate. I came today to ask you to vote to put the animal control millage on the ballot in August. At the last meeting, I think I told you that I had actually done my own research for several months about the millage, and I wrote up my own proposal. In doing that research, I can tell you that it would be supported by the community. The residents of Grand Traverse County have shown that animal control is a priority. They have signed online petitions, they have emailed you, there have been ongoing reports about the funding of the department in the media. They have joined Facebook groups to advocate change, and there are now almost 10,000 people on the Grand Traverse Area Lost and Found Pets page that are concerned about dogs and cats enough to follow the page. And at a time when the department was totally eliminated, that was basically the only way that lost cats and dogs were getting back to their owners, so they kind of took over the county's job for a while. The fact that these people don't show up at the commissioners' meeting does not represent apathy. They merely don't want to sit here and listen to a boring government meeting when they see that there are others of us willing to do that. Your job is to represent the taxpayers in the county, not necessarily your own opinions. You need to let the community vote on this and tell you if animal control services are important enough to them to pay an extra $3 or $5 a year. The taxpayers shouldn't have to worry every year about the fate of the department because of who the commissioners are or who the administrator might be. The Animal Control Division should have stable funding so that it can properly serve the county. To assume that most residents wouldn't support this millage is wrong, especially when it's possibly going to be one of the smallest millages you've ever had, if not the smallest one. And the price of it on a yearly basis is the price of a cup of coffee or a Whopper with cheese. The issue of animal control funding will always be on the radar. I will make sure of that. Just like in the last elections, I will let the community know who has and hasn't supported the Animal Control Division and the voices of the taxpayers. You are elected officials who will be running again in August and November. I would think you would want the taxpayers in your county to know that you are willing to let them vote on the issue. You need to let the people decide. And that's what I think some of you are saying. You're making a supposition on what the people want, but you're not allowing them to tell you what they want. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Come on up.
My name is Mary Allen, and I live in Williamsburg. And I'm one of those dog lovers, but I've lived in Sheboygan County, Genesee County, Valley County, Idaho, and now I live in Grand Traverse County. And every place I've lived, in every place that I've lived, every county has believed that animal control and animal control, not just for cats and dogs, but it's also animal welfare. It also talks, because the counties I lived in were also very rural. And it's not just cats and dogs, it's horses and pigs and sheep and cattle. It's an animal quality of life. And I'm not as biblical as some people, but I guess I really believe that. I can't believe that you would even that it has to be an option. I'm just amazed that animal enforcement and quality control is not part of the budget, that you have to find room, that you have to justify finding room. To me, it's a quality of life issue when you live in areas like this. I lived in Sheboygan for years. I lived in Valley County, Idaho for years, and I'm living here now for the rest of my years. And I'm just really amazed that I think you underestimate the people anymore and the value the people place on quality of life. And Grand Traverse County has a quality of life that people accept, and I think they take it for granted. They just assume, of course, there'll be animal control. There's a humane society, and that's a place that serves a purpose, but animal control has another purpose. And it's not always a good thing, and it's not just to find lost dogs, of which I have one, but it's really to provide the quality of life. People up here all love animals and dogs. Everybody does. I bet there's nobody here that isn't an animal lover. What amazes me is that it has to be something that you squeeze out a little bit of money and find money for it in a budget. I'm really surprised, and that if you don't have enough money, well, you're not going to have it. So I guess as a secondary choice, I think the thing is to ask the community if they believe in the quality of life that has come to be associated with Grand Traverse County and northern Michigan. And I guess if you have to wait and see what other people think, if you don't think it's important, that's to be respected. But if people in the community feel it is important, then I think they will give you an answer. It's sad that it will only be for 3 years, because animals will be here forever. It's never going to go away. The problem, the issues are always going to be here.
You're okay.
It's a quality of life issue.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Maxwell Wolf, 858 Center Street. I'm a county resident. I'm also a city resident. I was kind of surprised by the conversation. I don't think that you can really make a logical argument against, asking the people to decide, because, yes, sometimes you do. Yes, you are hired to make those decisions, but sometimes that decision could be let the people decide on a certain issue. As far as the millage goes, I really just had two major concerns as a taxpayer, and that was the Headley thing, and I guess that's not an issue. The other issue I had was the level of service that was going to be provided to the city through animal control, and I know that you are working, or the county is working with the city to try to kind of even that out and make that fair. The packet that I saw from the city commission, I still have questions and concerns about that, but the bottom line is that, I think this is something worth looking into. I think that an animal control millage might be something that would be helpful to keep the animal control service in the county. I added this up for my property. It's $1.27 a year. I mean, it's hardly worth sitting through this thing for 3 hours to talk about. It's $1.27. And Dr. Dan, I am one of your constituents. So I'm just one, but I'm here to tell you that, I do support this, and I think it's worth looking into. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's everybody in the room. We'll bring it back to the board.
Don't leave them
Greg and, Tom, go ahead.
Okay, the exact item that was on the city commission agenda for February 5th that he's referring to, and they decided to repeal part of the city's dog ordinance because they said it was duplicative of the state law, and it sounds kind of negative, but it was at the consent calendar, and then they separated it, and they decided, yes, they would repeal part of the city's dog ordinance. I don't clearly understand why they did that.
I can explain it.
Okay.
I was the one who recommended that.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I recommended that because if the city has an animal control ordinance, then by law, state law, they're required to enforce their ordinance. And the county animal control is without jurisdiction in the city. So it really was a small technical thing, but we wanted to make sure that our animal control officers could legally enforce in the city.
Okay. That's much more clear than the way this is written. Well, one of my ideas is that...
We don't have time for your testimony.
That's the first time I've been beat. So.
She's been wanting to do that to me for years.
Go ahead, Tom, you may continue.
That's funny. You've been funny twice tonight. So.
Okay.
So maybe you have to look at it another way. And I don't look at a millage as a huge no. So if the millage didn't pass, I don't see it as the end of animal control, and I don't think a millage actually states that when people go to vote. What they're voting on is a millage. They're not voting on whether there would be a department or not, as far as I understand. So one of the things I would say to put more teeth into it is that maybe there needs to be a proposal on the ballot that says we're going to mandate that Grand Traverse County is going to have animal control, and it's going to have a certain amount of hours of coverage. And I'm not sure that we can't do that. I mean, we can exceed the state law, perhaps.
I don't think we can have
That would be,
a ballot proposal that says
Yeah.
stuff like that.
that'd be really tricky to write. something.
And that's a bit much.
Tricky, but not totally out of the realm of possibility. So, the people who are interested in preserving the fact that the county would have some kind of animal control, let's not just rely on a board, or let's not just rely on a millage. Maybe we should look into that and just strengthen our law so that it's above the state law, and that we require there to be some kind of a level of animal control in our county that lasts until somebody changes the law.
Dan and then Sunny.
To say that a person doesn't want to fund animal control through a tax is not to say that you don't love animals and you're not concerned about breath life. That's called Nefesh Kai, Hebrew in the Old Testament. I have 2 golden retrievers. I've had golden retrievers, I don't know how many dogs I've had, maybe 15 of them. I love my dogs. I'm the kind of guy that when I see a lost dog on the street, I put him in my car and take him home. I am a healer. So I don't like being accused of having no heart for animals. I am for rendering the service. What I'm arguing about is how we fund it. Let's make that clear. We're arguing about how we fund it. Okay?
Sunny?
Well, I think my biggest problem with this discussion is I'm still not sure we're talking about the right number. We just passed 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, the idea to add the $150,000. We haven't even hired the people to find out whether or not this is going to be the right fit, that we're actually going to be successful in providing animal control with this budget that we have agreed to amend. I think the idea that we're going to push this through to an August election, I'd like to see us actually have this program in place for a little while and see if it works. Because maybe if we wait until November, instead of needing .031, we need .035 because we're going to add another person or something. I don't know. Because we have not enacted this program for 1 day yet. So how do we say that this is how much money we need and we're going to put this on the ballot in May or in August? I would much rather see us sit on this for a while, not make this decision tonight. We have until the 15th of May to get it on the August ballot. Let's get these people hired. Let's put the program that has been outlined to us and came out of the ad hoc committee in effect and make sure that it's working. Because I don't want to support a program that doesn't work. So if we establish that, okay, we're going to fund this program, but then 6 months from now it's not working, or even 3 months from now it's not meeting the needs, then we need to reevaluate the program that we're trying to enact. So I'm not saying that the people shouldn't vote, whether they should vote, shouldn't vote. I'm saying we need to know that the program that we're supporting with this millage is in fact going to be effective.
Yes, Cheryl.
I would recommend that we table this conversation to the May 2nd meeting.
May 2nd? Okay.
That would be our first meeting in May.
Okay.
That would give us an opportunity to gather some more information. I guess I would request that the Finance Department do its further evaluation of a millage in conjunction with equalization and come up with maybe a couple of different scenarios for millage amounts, a recommendation maybe on the length of years. And then hopefully between now and then, we all can gather additional information from our constituents and see what sort of feedback we're getting.
We can see whether the program that we have outlined, and this came out of the recommendation of the Ad Hoc Committee, actually in fact meets the need.
Possibly.
Okay, we will bring it back. I have it down for May 2nd.
Awesome.
Put it up. Okay. Yes.
So was that a motion?
No, I think, well, we didn't, do we need a motion to table it, or can we just say we're going to bring it back May 2nd? How do we need to do that?
I'm fine with just...
You're okay with just, we agree that we'll bring it back? Okay, all right. Because this wasn't really necessarily in for vote, it was considerations, and that's what we did. We considered it and discussed it, and we're going to put it on hold and get some more information. Okay, we have no new business. We will move into second public comment, but I think I gave everybody a chance already. I don't think there's anybody left. Yeah.
It'll be like less than a second.
Okay.
A question I had asked, actually, when I was putting together my own millage proposal before, and Christine Maxbauer could not answer it for me. They did give me some paperwork. It was about having a having the public put the millage on the ballot, because the city has a way of doing it with petitions. And when I asked Maxbauer about it, they really couldn't give me like a number, what the process was. So the paperwork that she did give me said something about an official could bring it up, not necessarily just the commission, and I wish I would have brought that with me, but I'm just wondering.
I think Bonnie has an answer.
I had actually talked to the state before about this, and...
I think I talked to you.
Yes, county, you would have to have a county commission bring it up. You can't do it by petition, only at the local jurisdictions, townships and cities can do something like that. But the county-wide has to be through a commission, so...
Okay. Maybe I'll send you the sheet that I had from the way you guys had worded it, didn't say that.
Because I remember talking to you about
The
it.
statute you want to look at is MCL 46.11, and there's a subparagraph that talks about the right of petition. And it's a
Right.
very, very limited right.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. We have Commissioner Department reports and notices, and we'll put it all together in one. We do have a request for a special meeting next week. Hold on. We have a request for a special meeting next week to include consideration of the selection of the Facilities Director and Resource Recovery Manager, approval of Community Development Agreement, a finance update for the budget ending December 31st, 2017, and possibly a closed session regarding Grand Traverse County versus Halloway.
It's not approval of the community development, it's just consideration.
I'm sorry, it says, okay, consideration, discussion of Community Development Agreement. I'll change that. So we need 3 signatures before you leave. Anybody? No, and Ron's going to be one. That was all I had. Tom?
Okay. On the subject of community development, it was under old business on the City Commission meeting of February 5th. And that, to me, isn't very clear, because I don't think the public really understands what community development, those 2 words are. But what it means to me is that it's the Economic Development Authority, it's the it's bodies that exist at the county level, like the EDC, Economic Development Corporation, I should say. It's that the city would like to actually have the community development operation in the city and then give services to us. That also includes the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, the way I understand it, and the City Commission voted it down. But there was talk, at least Commissioner McGillivray, he said that later he might change his vote because he would study it more. But I believe that the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority and the County Economic Development Corporation are county bodies, and I don't approve of the effort that they're making to move them over to the city. I think these should be county. And I think it really overlooks that one of my well, my only township really, Garfield Township is the fastest growing area in the county, and I don't know what it leaves them. If the city has these bodies and the county does not, because when the county has these bodies, that helps all the townships and all the villages and the city too. And it's just not, as far as me, it's not genuine that they can use an argument that most of the brownfield redevelopment projects are in the city, to say that the city should be running it also for the city, and then they'll do it for the county as part of what they do. Because since I've been sitting here, it's actually closer to 2/3 are in the city and 1/3 was not in the city, because there's only been 3 that have come to us in the last 13 months. So I really would like everybody to be aware, especially Garfield Township, that this effort is taking place, that the city wants to take over the community development operations of the county, and I don't agree.
Okay, I think that's why we're having it on discussion for next week. Yes. Anybody else? Cheryl says, let's go.
Can I?
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to remind, one of the items that I forgot to put into my report is the Planning Commission. We being Nate and I met with Matt McCauley from Networks Northwest this week, and Matt will be putting together a proposal to bring back to this commission. Nate will probably be bringing it back sometime in March, early March.
Okay.
Just wanted to let you know that it's not fallen off.
Okay, thank you.
Our
Anybody
calendar.
else? Okay, we don't need a closed session. We are adjourned. No prediction.